building up a big stack there. And Guru defending with the 10-6 suited. This is funny because this is what the straddle does. Wow. It is a funny flop because
No one has hearts.
no one has hearts, and also it's like, what does Chaz do? I think he's c-betting, but it's kind of the good thing and bad thing about having 100% c-bet.
Yeah.
Because every player has, I don't think we haven't seen a hand where someone raised pre and then not led on flop.
Such a small bet, too.
Yeah, everyone's kind of taking the sizing, which, you know, keeps your range super wide, but also it's like, makes it a little easier to call hands like 10-6 here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 6'3" or taller. It's like 6'3".
Ooh.
I love it. But my sister's like, "What do you mean?
And he didn't
You're
fade
5'1",
that
you're just being
spade.
greedy. Like, what is wrong
That
with you?
ace of spades.
Like, you can fade anybody.
Well, the deck's called faded spade, so it was a bad joke.
What do you mean?
For us, just
We're
five.
all
5 5s and over.
Yeah.
So they're like, she's 5'2" and a half.
I'm like, what do you mean? But yeah, the tallest guy I've dated was 7'2". But I've dated like
How did that work?
6'5", 6'6", 6'8", 7'1", 7'2". I've dated the gamut, and then I've also dated like 5'4".
Let's say with probably was like the outback.
6 foot.
6 foot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I'm pretty.
You said you've been playing a lot of tournaments and stuff like that. One of the little tells I'll tell you I found out was like if you bet with your big chips, right?
Mm-hmm.
And someone comes into the pot using their smaller chips,
Mm-hmm.
they probably know they have the weaker hand. They just want to see a flop and
Make
see if
it
they
look
can
intimidating.
connect. No, they're coming in. You'll know that their hand is weak
Mm.
because they come in with their smaller denomination chips. Versus if you throw out like two $5,000 chips for 10,000, and they put out a few stacks of greens and blacks
Yeah.
instead of putting out their $5,000 chips,
Mm.
meaning that they're coming in light and they just want to see a flop and see if they can, they have connected suited cards, stuff like that. One
Interesting.
little thing to pick up on.
I like that. Have you ever read Zachary Elwood has some good books on poker tells. He's nonverbal one and a verbal one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he scrutinized like thousands of hands, and that one helped a lot actually in my tournament runs because you just have to bluff a lot more in tournaments than in cash games, or I've found at least that because the blinds are going up, so people are under a lot more of high pressure situations, so the tells are a little bit more because the pressure's higher.
Right? There's a tell also that I've said on the stream every time that when someone bets 3 chips of the same denomination,
Yeah.
a lot of times they have 3 of a kind or a set.
Huh. I wonder if it's a subconscious
It
thing.
is
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Interesting. I have noticed myself doing this thing where, like, let's say I have a pair of sevens and there's like a 7 on the board. I'll bet like like a 70, or like I'll bet 700 or whatever
Right,
it is. It's like it has a
exactly.
7 in it, and I don't know why.
Right.
Noticed
your
I've done that.
subconscious-
Yeah.
And that's why I'm always aware when I flop a set to bet something odd.
Yeah.
Because I see people like even on the big games here, if someone flops a set, and let's say it doesn't matter what the pot is. They can bet 3 black chips, 3 $500 chips, whatever their bet sizing is. It's that combination.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to look out for that. What happens when they bet quads? When they have quads?
Well, I just noticed your subconscious just does that for
Yeah.
the threes.
See, we've seen quads twice on this stream.
Jack High has been super just in there in every hand, which you can kind of see with like the bleeding. It kind of can come a lot from that.
Yeah.
He did get some rough spots though, especially with like the 4s, 9s. This one's gonna be I'm not
Still
sure
up
if he's going for it.
1,200.
Yeah, still up 1200.
Here it is. We'll go back to Poker Guru's hand.
Okay.
He had a set of 7s.
Right.
He bet 1,500.
Okay.
3 $500 chips.
Holds up. The theory
There you
holds
go.
up.
I was like, when did someone do that? I know I saw it, but that's what he did.
Yeah.
And
I'll have to look for that now.
I don't think it did with the bet sizing because he overbet the pot.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
You want to play low, like 5. 5 PLO in the front.
I'm doing a few.
Because I've never played PLO. You ever played
I've
PLO?
noticed a
Have you ever
tell
played
if I'm at a cash game that also is in a room that runs tournaments. I can tell the tournament players because they stack their chips in short stacks.
Well, I mean,
They have them, normally it's 20 chips up.
Right.
They'll have them like in 10 chip
Right.
stacks.
so that's no, that's a.
Do you play on like the Asian apps as well, or like you're just playing on American apps? Just like just American. Yeah. Yeah, I gave like some sketchy dude like some money.
Thing that blows my mind in tournaments is you raise pre-flop with ace king.
You know how it is.
You flop a king, you bet it.
I'm pretty
The
sure if
turn's
I
a
win
blank,
money,
you bet it. The river's a blank, you bet it. And someone calls you down, they turn over king 4,
Yeah.
and the river's a 4.
Oh, we got
So
aces.
tilting.
Yes.
Oh, we got aces, guys.
We got aces for
They
Ebony.
finally gave my girl
Your lady.
a hand. Also, jacking off, one of my favorite hands. We got the ladies.
I can't tell if you did that on purpose or not. Yeah.
Do what?
She got no action.
Dude, the thing is, every time I make the joke, no one laughs. So I'm like, okay, I think it was there, but
I just saw, I see a lady jacking off. What?
particularly people that are back on their money, they just want to market that is available for replay and clubs and everything friends. If people are putting real money behind that, which obviously they are.
we got some whispers in the back, y'all. Drew's making sure we're
Is that
doing our
Twix?
best. Yeah, I just ate a whole Twix bar.
What the?
I
Where
know,
did
right?
that come from?
It came from the vending machine.
Last year I trusted for a non-app game.
Oh, did everyone just fold pre-flop to the
Yeah,
aces? Okay.
she went a little too big, but honestly, she kind of has
You,
to.
you know my aces got cracked 8 times in a row recently. Like I honestly thought I was cursed, because statistically it just shouldn't happen. And each time I'd be like, well, they can't get cracked 5 times in a row. They did. They can't get cracked 6 times in a row. They
They
did.
do.
Yeah, and it didn't matter if I 4-bet pre-flop. Didn't matter.
The thing that I learned the most for Oz was just remembering, like, you could play for 10 years as the best player in the world and lose for that whole 10 years. And that's just, like, the law of variance,
That
you know?
sucks.
Like, yeah.
I don't know if you make it those 10 years.
Yeah, well, the
You
thing
probably
is...
just think you suck the whole time.
Exactly. The law, well, because we had been talking about, like, where I want to go, my role in poker and
Yeah.
stuff, and, like, it's just crazy. Like, you could play for 10 years, and the law of variance just says, hey, you can just lose all the time.
I know.
JT.
I know.
It sounded personal.
I feel it.
Yeah.
What's up, dealer Drew?
On like the mobile apps, like you honestly don't know what could be happening.
I'm writing a poker book called Call Fold.
Please put that book out. So
Great
if you put that book out, I can exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I was saying you can play on AmericanStarter.com.
Whoa, nice. Wow. I started playing all the Sundays, just the last 3 weeks.
Oh, is that Drew Gilmore? What's up, dude?
Yeah, I started playing the Sundays.
Dude, you got to show me that conditioning place that you've been going
You
to.
just realize that, like,
I'm trying to find more
there's
places
some,
where I can
take some chairs on there.
mend my body and soul.
Body and
I'm trying to
soul.
think of the best words. He's been posting like
Is this
ice
code for a
bath.
brothel?
Yeah. Drew, you gotta show me the
Yeah.
you gotta show me the underground conditioning.
Conditioning place.
You gotta show me jacking off.
Yeah.
I just like I
You know, Jack King off never gives me a happy ending, I gotta say.
It's
It's not a good
It's true.
hand.
It's always a bad ending for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the right massage place.
Yeah.
So like I'll play like everything from like $33 like $250 or whatever.
Yeah, we can definitely see, Mama Poker might be a little like not trying to get too involved, keeping pots smaller by not raising.
Yeah.
Problem is you get all these callers in, I think a lot of the hands that she's been in, there's like 5 people where she could make it like
I don't care.
3,
Yeah.
but still, I think in these spots she might still get. The thing is, I think Jesse folds King 9 off pre-flop.
It just shows how much the mental game really affects you. Like you lose a couple pots, or you get sucked out on, and then you start like it changes the way you play if you don't really like think about it and analyze why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, definitely.
And now, did Jesse add on or did he win it?
No, he added on. Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, you have to be sharp
Yeah.
the entire time. Once you get that lapse and we're just letting some people get in with the hands that you don't want to get in,
Yeah.
it makes it worse.
Mm-hmm. Or like I 3-bet this guy last time and he had it, so I don't want to 3-bet him this time, even
Right.
though I should.
Unbelievable. I feel like
If I 3-bet, does he 4-bet me?
Yeah.
You know, and then I have to fold.
And then I folded twice. Is he just doing it with any 2 cards? Am I getting picked on, or did he have it?
Does he do a 4-bet shove on me if I 3-bet? I'm like, ugh.
And now my stack is shorter. And,
I usually
yeah.
turn it over. I wasn't like, oh, you just.
And then you go, I just stay out of his way. Every time he comes in, I'm just going to fold.
Yeah.
Because he can only beat me.
Mhm.
Well, he can only, everybody
he's
else
got
he's
my
losing
number.
to, but he's
Mhm.
beating me.
There is always that person that has your
Exactly.
number.
Absolutely. That night, yes, I got that.
No luck? Good luck.
Tomorrow, we'll be there
See you tomorrow.
So, Nikki, as someone who's gotten in really recently during COVID and seems to have like really leveled up during that time, any advice you'd give to people like, who are just getting in the game? Because I know we have a lot of people in chat that, they're just getting in, just
Yeah.
learning, just playing.
I think watching stuff like this is really, really helpful. Watching as much as you can. I would just strongly advise, like, I know you get really excited, you watch so much poker, you just want to get in there, but
Yeah.
like really having a firm grasp on the fundamentals before putting real money in. I studied with a solver. I did a lot of studying for pre-flop hand selection. I think that's so key. Like people brush over it because they really want to get involved with like, what's my bluff range? How do I balance my range? But
Yeah.
like, like let's start with pre-flop hand
Yeah.
selection. Let's just start there. And like really getting that down, I played a lot with the solver and with like play money apps first for like 4 or 5 months before
Yeah.
putting real money in, and watching a ton of poker vloggers just for bet sizing, because the solvers don't always give you like real life bet sizing.
Yeah,
I was so
definitely.
confused the first time I went to a casino, like why it went multi-way, because in the solver it's always heads up, like why did it go? I don't know what to do now.
Yeah. No, that's something I think a lot of people, I'll talk to other like pros, I guess, and like a lot of the times they're like taking spots that they think are right simply because they read it in a solver, but the thing is like don't take into account any other part of the action that happened, like
Yeah,
multi-way
or
on a flop,
player
for example.
type.
Yeah, player type. Yeah.
The GTO solvers are assuming everyone's playing GTO.
Yeah.
So if you have a guy 3-betting you, but he hasn't 3-bet the entire 5-hour session,
Yeah.
it's not the same as somebody who's 3-betting every few orbits.
Exactly, and I think it's a really good point. And just like watching these streams, you actually see this is how people are playing. Like you see the hands right now. Like 10-6 off is not.
Yeah.
Not yet.
But yeah.
It can get confusing depending on what stream or what vlogger you are watching. Like, I think a Rampage vlog is different.
Hey, what's up, guys? All right, we're back. We got everything sorted out.
Like we were never gone.
Never. Actually, we're just starting right now.
We're trying a new 8:30 time slot, okay? Don't let anyone tell you different.
Too easy to knock over.
And thanks for being patient, guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. The hopefully the technical difficulties will be sorted out now. We can give a little bit of analysis on the hands.
Yeah, and or Ant-Man over here getting a massage. It's cool here at Rounders. We have a lot of cool stuff. We have massage girls. We also have a bar. We have a restaurant. There's a lot of stuff to do here.
Barbershop?
Barbershop and a golf simulator.
The golf simulator?
I've told them they got to get a gym up in here and a little like 2-room hotel.
You actually would never leave then.
We see a raise here from Ryan. This is the first hand we've seen him active in with the ace-queen.
Oh, Esteban's got the 5-3 suit. Oh, he gets out of there. That's my favorite hand.
Ooh, and Zach's going to be in a rough position, but he does have dealer position, so he's going to be a little more excited when he's most likely going to get just called here, so...
Yeah, and he'll have some opportunities to bluff being in position, assuming they both miss the board here.
Yeah, but ace-high boards are going to be brutal.
Absolutely.
For those that aren't in the hand, I'm gonna ask for.
He might be able to bluff his way out of this one. I'm not sure if Ryan will float on this board or not. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, so generally I think you can't really float, specifically with the ace queen, but possibly, depending on Zach's sizings, you can kind of float with, yeah, and 75 could get floated by queen of diamonds, thinking that your ace is going to be good, but yeah, I think we're generally going to see a fold, so nice takedown by Zach.
Yeah, there's just no cards that you're happy to see on the turn, you know?
Yeah.
Even an ace, you're not, I mean, you're obviously happy, but you're not thrilled, you know? You can still be up against ace king. Obviously, you can't see, you know, just monsters under the bed constantly, but you're still not super happy in that spot. And a queen, you're just hating life.
Yeah.
That's the big problem there.
Yeah, and I think he could take more floats if he had more like the ace of diamonds instead of queen of diamonds, and it comes a little more of a good play to float, but even so, you know, sometimes you can just take it the slow way and just, you know, I missed, next hand.
900, 14,
Yeah, I feel like you get into trouble when you feel like you need to win every hand, especially, you know, you committed 75 or 85, I think it was, pre-flop.
Yeah.
Now you feel like you're committed, like, oh, he's not always going to hit this board either, blah, 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 I have to stay in. But a lot of times you really don't. You can kind of just get out of there. Live to fight another day.
We see John Paul's going to raise it up. He's actually a veteran.
Do you think he has 7 deuce this time? Oh, he's got 4 deuce.
They are not playing the 4 deuce game, but they are playing the 7 deuce game.
Are they playing the 6 deuce game? So
Apparently.
Teddy can get it? That's rough when you have the 4 deuce and you're somehow dominated. Although he still has higher equity, surprisingly. Huh. I wonder if some 6s got full. Oh, no, the deuce board.
Cooler City.
Zach's sitting very pretty with his top pair, top kicker here. On a pretty safe board. There's really nothing you're too concerned about if you're Zach in this position.
Yeah. And we do see a continuation bet by John.
Do you like a c-bet here?
Yeah, I like it a lot with the backdoor flush draw in his image. And that is a brutal card for John because it's a really good card to keep betting on.
Yeah, and Zach just turned top 2.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how Zach plays this one. If he wants to deny equity from some hands like Jack Queen, or if he wants to let John keep betting. And this sizing looks like it begs for more of a check raise. I mean, not check raise, just a raise. But if John were to go like 75 instead, then he could probably just call. Does go for a raise.
Looks like 130. Is that the sizing you would choose in this spot usually?
Yeah, I like 3x. You know, you're targeting coolers. You're targeting a lot of like ace jack, ace queen.
Right, other hands that turned an ace and now think they have the best hand.
Yeah.
Some flush draws, some combo draws, maybe in there.
Yeah.
But he does just take it down. His opponent had 4 deuce. Not going to stick around to find out. Pretty tough to put your opponent on 4 deuce in that spot.
Especially when he's continuing. We've definitely seen some.
It's 3 people on both streets.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and John's really good about using his image. He does really well.
After this stream, I don't know if he's going to have an image left. Like the only 2 hands we've seen him super active in were 4 deuce and 7 deuce.
Well, now he has
Oh,
kings.
okay, he's got kings. Never mind. I take it all back. I take it back, John. You are tight.
And it also depends on if the players are rewatching and seeing like, oh, he did this with 9-8. And
Yeah, there was an intermission. They might have combed through. Although I guess they couldn't see the cards either, so it wouldn't have mattered.
they saw one of his.
They saw the 7 deuce.
Yeah.
Whoa. Not what you want when you have pocket kings. He's going to get called 6 ways.
Yeah.
Or is that 7 ways? 2, 4, 6 ways. That is not what you want to see when you have pocket kings.
And you can see he only has 43% pre-flop. Wow. And that is a flop.
Bottom set for Eric. Top pair for Esteban. Over pair for John Paul. Middle pair for Teddy. And 10 high for Forrest. But, we can't all hit the flop.
Sometimes we've seen that we all can.
Honestly, three 3 or 4 out of 6 players. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
man.
curious to see how Eric wants to play this because there are 2 callers, but it's such a dry board that you don't really need to raise here. But maybe he wants to start getting money in the pot, start targeting hands like kings.
Yeah, what do you think? Are you raising here? Because, yes, it's a dry board, but with 6 people in, somebody's going to have a queen that they're going to have trouble letting go of, right?
Yeah, the only problem is that there are like a lot of queen 10s, for example,
That
which
aren't
are
gonna-
just dead.
Yeah, they're not going to stand up to much pressure,
Yeah.
for sure.
And there's the thing is it's perfect because there are no draws on this board. Like when John goes 60, he's not going to get called by 6-4, you know.
Right, of
So
course.
he's going to feel pretty comfortable that he's not against 2 pairs. Yeah, and I would go if I were Eric. I'd go for a check call, and then check raise river style of play,
All right, let's play cards.
depending on the action. But
Do you think Esteban can get away from it on this street?
no, I don't think from what we've seen that he's going to fold. But
Because when 2 players are still in on that dry of a board, it's you kind of have to start. You get in your head of like, what am I up against? There's
Yeah.
not that many. There's not really any straight draws on Queen 7-3. There's no front door flush draws. He does get away from it. Wow,
yeah, that's a great fold.
great fold.
I actually wasn't expecting the fold. Now that it's heads up, you can go either way between raising and calling. I actually think heads up, this raise is a little better because you are going to want to raise here with like ace queen and king queen, and your opponent's going to be putting you on those kind of hands and less so on like sets. It's really hard to put your opponents on sets.
Yeah, it's tough for John Paul to think he's beat here since with no 3-bet pre-flop, especially with how many callers, it's almost never going to be against pocket queens.
Yeah,
So really the only hands that beat him are pocket 7s and pocket 3s. And, pocket 5s are probably folding on the flop.
yeah, and with his stack to pot ratio here, when he has $1,000 and your opponent's going 5-10, he's most likely going to be shoving here with the kings.
And the other thing that's terrible for him is you have to wonder if you're getting accidentally bluffed by a worse hand, like ace queen, that thinks that they're raising for value, you
Yeah.
know? And then you might end up accidentally getting bluffed because you're on an overpair. I just don't see any way you get away from pocket kings here, but it would be amazing if he somehow found a fold.
He does look like he hates the situation, and we've all been there. This situation sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible. And, you have to go back to pre-flop when 6 or 5 people call you pre-flop. Could one of them have had pocket 3s or pocket 7s? I mean, it's very possible. Those are the type of hands that people are flatting multi-way like that. But that's really all that you're losing to. So it's
Yeah.
brutal.
And he was on the big blind, so he can have any range of hands.
He could have like queen 7, maybe queen 3 suited if he's feeling a little spicy.
Yeah, we've actually seen Eric, call those from the blinds, which, multi-way they can hit boards like this.
Yeah, it's just so rough when you're John Paul here.
It actually looks like he might be considering the fold though, that he's putting his opponent more on strength, which would be a really good fold.
Yeah, because, I mean, again, with such a dry board on the flop, you have to wonder what would he be calling you with that he's then turning into a bluff on the turn,
Yeah.
You bluffed me.
Wow.
Wow, what a great fold.
Yeah, that's a
You're
sick fold.
sick, John Paul. You are sick at this game. I do not think I get away from that there.
Nice, man. Nice.
That's why I'm not on the live stream. That's why I'm stuck doing commentary.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely capable of making that fold a lot. When I have played with him, he's been really good about making big folds in big spots.
Yeah,
And
amazing
that's really
fold.
good. Yeah, I mean that's right there. I think a lot of people would have lost 1,000, and
Oh, I mean, some people are like, they get to that point and they're like, you know what? I'm just going with it. I have pocket kings. I have an overpair. I'm not folding. I'm all in. Get
Yeah.
snapped off by pocket 3s.
that was a really good fold by.
And then maybe
John
get the
there.
2 outer on the river. Great fold, though. I love it.
Yeah, it's cool to see. I mean, especially when he's been raising and kind of just getting nothing.
Yeah.
He's very much just like not gonna. Oh wow, we
Not
see the
another
7 deuce.
7-2.
And we do have the 7 deuce game playing, guys.
You know every
7 deuce game in effect.
Forrest looks like he wants to get a little mixed in with this hand.
Do you like a 3-bet or a call in this spot?
Ooh, he decides to fold.
Oh, folds. I guess that should have been the other option. That you can't fault him for that, though. I
Yeah.
can see the fold.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors. When you're playing on stream, you can, I know that he's playing a little out of his depth, so it can be, there's a lot of factors that come into play when you're playing. And we see he wouldn't have flopped anything. Ooh, wow. Goes with the check on this board.
Do you think... Oh, he goes... Oh, yeah, he does go with the check. I guess he's thinking he's not going to have too many strong hands on this board, but I think... I don't know. When you're playing the 7 deuce game, I kind of think you have to bet that board.
Yeah, when you're opening 7 deuce, you definitely want to be...
And he does for the
betting
delayed
more.
c-bet. Yeah.
And I think it's going to... Wow, and we see Teddy calling with the ace high.
There's a snap.
Yeah. And Zach actually is drawing to the diamond here. No diamond, but see what he does.
What sizing do you like here?
I like a big sizing if I'm playing the 7 deuce game.
What is that? That looks like 75?
Yeah.
He
And
does get it through.
yeah. Nice hand by Zach there, getting an extra,
40?
40. Yeah,
Not
that's
bad.
pretty sick.
The delayed c-bet line ends up working out.
Yeah, and I'm here, Ethan Bruin, here with Michael Largent, commentating tonight at Rounders Tonight. Hope y'all are having a good night. If y'all can hit that like and subscribe button, it really helps a lot. We're trying to build this up. Really helps us just constantly make this better. Bet on Drew has done a lot of work just trying to make this stream as good as possible. And
He's a great guy. He's been running around backstage the whole time, trying to get all the technical issues sorted out, trying to get everything fixed. We see him working really hard back here to get everything working properly for you guys. So definitely give us a like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do to show your love to the Rounders live stream.
Oh, he played that with 7 deuce. He's crazy. And then
I'll
find
say
out
what
we
I
were
had.
actually playing a 7
If you
deuce.
tell me that I had,
So the straddle.
which one was that?
the 7 deuce game does make people play a lot looser as well.
I know what he had. I saw it.
Yeah, once you see that, you're kind of incentivized to start playing more hands.
Yeah, especially when you see it twice. And we've seen...
That's $10 already
Yeah.
for all the other players.
And we've seen in the past that players have actually just shoved their stacks in during the 7 deuce game for keeps.
Yeah, and then you kind of have to look at the numbers on that. You're like, wait a second, we're shoving 2,000 to win an extra $5 from everyone.
Yeah.
The math doesn't. You don't have to be great at math to figure out the math doesn't quite work on that. Everybody gets absolutely nothing on this board. King
Yeah.
high for Zach, still going to be good.
Yeah, and I think Zach is going to be betting this board a lot with this particular hand.
Yeah, I would imagine so, and that probably gets the job done. I can't imagine either player calling. That's why c-betting is so strong. Oh, no,
Ooh.
goes ahead and checks. That was a pretty quick check, too. I don't know. I don't know if I like the super quick check on this board.
Yeah, I actually talked about it in a couple streams how I generally don't like from what I've seen, pacing is really big. But at least he keeps his bet also pretty fast.
Yeah, for sure.
As long as you know that you're like not tanking when you're betting and then quick checking when you're not,
Right. I mean, I was playing just a cash game yesterday. The flop was like 3-4-5 or something, and the original raiser checked, and then the guy thought for maybe like 30 seconds before betting a decent amount, and I was like, I just think that's always a strong hand.
Yeah.
And he ended up having a set of fives. It's just stuff like that. It can be hard to see when you're the one doing it, but it's kind of apparent to outside observers.
Yeah.
So having a consistent pacing can be huge.
But what's scary is there's no.
But he ends up turning a flush draw, c-bets with the best hand unwittingly, and then just takes it down.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
why
you
I
opened
didn't
and got
notice
called on,
that.
like,
I opened
five
for
spots.
15. I would have normally opened for more. but I
King queen for
wasn't
S1,
pitching.
probably gonna be an open.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
it looks like a pretty big raise too.
Yeah, I mean that's something we were talking about early in the stream. Is Ant-Man's got the jacks, and he's been playing crazy. Although he hasn't been going too crazy with the 3-bets pre-flop though.
No, mostly just calling.
Mostly calling. So this might, if Esteban's been paying attention to what Ant-Man's doing, this might. And Eric with the king jack suited.
Good
But-
fold.
This might put some. Oh, and he folds it. Wow. This might put some alarm bells in Esteban's head. Oh, and John Paul with kings.
Dang.
How do you do that twice, John Paul?
Yeah,
What
that's
a
crazy.
Big raise too. What was that 400, 300, 325?
Yeah, and this is a spot I think Esteban's gonna fold, but
Yeah, you kind of have
this
to.
is a spot with Ant-Man where it's a little rough when you're getting 3-bet or cold 4-bet here.
Yeah, cold 4-bet from a player like John Paul seems super strong.
Yeah.
Oh, and look at that 1% because all the jacks are dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we saw a King Jack folded, but we didn't. I don't think we saw another. Well, actually,
If it's 1% though, they must
yeah,
be dead.
yeah, I think
I
it
would
is
imagine.
dead. So he is just drawing because he also has spades and diamonds covered. So he is just drawing to
A straight,
Straight.
a 4-card straight.
We've seen crazier.
Yeah, with John Paul's stack being what it is, you kind of have to. Yeah, you're gonna have to either fold or commit, and then of course, oh, does he think he might be up against aces? Okay,
Yeah,
no.
still puts it in.
You have to call there. Yeah.
Did y'all say twice?
Looks like we might be running it twice. Not sure.
Yeah, and obviously Ant-Man doesn't know he's dead.
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
But all kings were also folded.
Right. Not that it really matters when all the jacks are folded. There would be no set over set situation where that would really matter.
Yeah, don't you wish you could know when you're drawing dead?
No, I want the false hope
Yeah, that's
that I could, still maybe win the hand. How sick would it be if he did win this hand though, with 1% equity and a 3-high flop? Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I want a little bit of a sweat, but
I feel like we've seen a few of these spots where the jacks ends up winning even with the 1%. Just on stream lately, we've seen a lot of it.
yeah, crazy things happen.
it is good to win the first.
And they are running it twice.
With 2 queens dead though, the odds have to be even less than 2% now, or 1%, whatever it was. Oh, some chop outs with a potential straight on board. If an ace 5 or 6 comes. Oh,
Oh,
needs an ace or
There's no jack. All right.
4's not going to do it.
Thank you, sir.
so
that would have been
close though.
sick. That would have been sick. I mean, he still would have won,
Man, throwing the party.
I don't know, couple, like 600, something like that.
Shit, he's going to Vegas
But pretty sick when you're 99% favorite and you end up chopping a board.
Yeah, and crazily enough, King Queen would have got there on the first run out, but
Yeah, with like I think he was actually doing better than the jacks somehow, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, the army unfortunately won't let me do
Yeah, I didn't even remember. Yeah, Esteban must have been sick seeing that first run out.
to duty tomorrow.
yeah, it's always annoying when you
Make
when
the
you
right
know you
play.
would have tripled up.
Yeah.
Who else is military?
Oh man, that happened to me the other day.
Right on, man.
It was like folded something would have just straight flopped,
Army, you said?
straight up flopped a straight. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Station where?
Always brutal.
That's where
But-
I was at Randolph.
Fair play to John. I mean, and you know what? John deserved that because he got away from the kings when he was up against the flop set.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that he got his redemption on the kings because as he really deserved it. He won the 7 deuce king. He made a great fold with kings. I'm happy to see him win that hand.
yeah, and that for anyone watching at home, like that's why it's so big to just conserve your stack because maybe he gets stacked in that king spot earlier when he was against pocket threes, and then he buys in again, and suddenly he's a little more tilted, a little like, dang, did I really just get run into a set like that? But instead he kept it, and now he's up. Where if the same situation happened, but he had called off with the kings, he would actually only be even. So really good play by John to have folded the kings earlier, and it paid off big time.
Maybe there is some justice in poker.
Sometimes there's some justice,
Sometimes, not every time.
but there is still a lot of stream left, so we'll see.
There's still plenty of time for the justice to be reversed.
Poker does tend to do that.
Ant-Man getting burnt by the magnifying glass right now, according to that.
I use more of the marble jokes when I'm referring to Ant-Man.
Oh yeah, well, that's fair.
Where's the 15?
Like his new movie is coming out soon, so
I like mine better.
12 from 7.
Yeah, I don't know if he's actually down 2.6K.
possibly I think that we had a couple add-ons earlier.
Yeah, that might have happened off stream. There might have been some add-ons during our brief intermission.
Yeah, because we could see that Eric had the 1K plaque in front of him along with it.
Right. Oh, pretty good flop for pocket eights. We got Esteban with a gut shot. Yeah, not too much else going on for anyone else on this board.
Yeah, I think Joe's often just going to bet and take it down here, but
Yeah, I would imagine. I could see Esteban, depending on how big the bet is, I think I could see Esteban calling.
yeah.
It looks like 15 maybe? Oh, 40. My mistake. Pretty big bet on that board, actually. I think he's just happy to take it down.
Yeah, and good fold by Esteban. I think a lot of people might call there to see a
Right.
turn, but
The thing is, you don't know if his ace would be good in that situation, but it's really hard to know that. There's so many flopped straights, flopped two pairs, flopped sets when it's that multi-way.
yeah,
It's good to just get away from that before you get too committed. And then even if you do hit your straight, you're on the low end, you're not feeling great about it. Any 10's going to make a better straight, you know?
yeah.
Anyway.
We do see a straddle.
Put out the 20, come on. I want blood right now.
Yeah, I think if he had a little more in his stack, he's probably going to put out the 20, but in this spot,
The Niners lose on Thursday.
looks like he has like 500.
Fumble was really bad for me.
Here comes CMC in the red.
I've been pressured to straddle enough times when I'm short stack. Sometimes I give in. Sometimes I hold my ground.
Ooh, and we're seeing Forrest wake up with a hand. Oh, wow, ace-9 offsuit.
Looks like we're just going to get a flat from Ryan. Makes sense. He's going to be playing in position with a very playable hand.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Forrest is trying to use his image with the ace-9. Although I would be a little afraid of Ant-Man in the big to raise with a hand like ace-9 offsuit.
Right. He's going to call wide. He's going to put a lot of pressure post-flop in spots. Oh, and the king still comes out. And a 9 for Forrest. Big 40 on the graphic.
Yeah, and he is going to continue on this board a lot.
Would you continue on this board with his particular hand?
It goes both ways. It really depends on what your goals are, because I think that you can really rep the king, which lets you, well, just get, for example, king 10 is just calling you. So you're kind of seeing a cheaper turn by betting here and keeping the lead. Like if he checked, maybe his opponent goes like 55, 60 rather than 35. But he isn't going to get a good turn, so.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, even if you do get called by a king, you know, you've still got probably at least 5 outs
Yeah.
to any ace or 9. But when you get called by 2 players on that flop, I think you're pretty much done with it.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're gonna see a bet from Ryan.
But only 60, so this is going to get called by worse kings.
Do you start betting if you're Ryan in this spot?
It's close. The reason that I might not is that the board is so dry, so it really depends. Like, if I feel like my opponent is checking, you know, ace-9, for example, yeah, but if I think my opponent might check something like a set of 9s, then I might not. I think if I was going to bet, I'd use a bigger sizing, though, because I think that 60 is a little too on the lower side. But he does get calls from hands like this king 4.
And one of those 4s is dead for Ant-Man, so only 2 outs going into the river. Can he spike one of them? Nope, it's an 8.
Yeah, and that's a bad card for Ant-Man because he's going to feel like he's a little stronger now since his kicker doesn't come into effect.
His kicker is, he's now chopping against king 7 and king 6 and king 5, or not king 5. Or yes, king 5.
Yeah, king 5. And he's also beating a lot of bluffs that would be in there, like jack 10.
Right.
But, you know, you never feel too strong there with the king 10 either because your kicker also is kind of no longer important.
Right.
You're not really beating anything that, well, except for king 4 that will call you there.
Yeah, it's tough to put him on too many hands that you're beating that are also going to call it that.
Yeah.
Like that's the obviously you're gonna almost like the vast majority of the time, your king 10's probably gonna be good there. But the real question is, if you bet, are you gonna get called by worse in that spot? And in that exact hand, yes, probably. But in general, it's going to be a lot of hands that like turn to flush draw and then bricked out on the river, because there were spades on the turn, and they're just not going to call a bet. So yeah, I like the play. Looks like the $5 straddles on this hand.
Running hot. Yeah. I know, man. You gotta pull him sometimes for balance.
Folds all the way to the button. Esteban pops it up to 20 with the king 9 offsuit.
Oh, Teddy.
Ant-Man on the big blind.
Well,
You think he's coming along?
No. Well, if he was in the straddle, I think.
Oh,
he
yeah,
might.
I forgot the straddle, right.
Oh wow, we're gonna see Teddy call the 7-3 offsuit.
Now, is the 7-3 game on?
No.
No, the 7-3 game's not on. Okay.
His midsection's been vibrating.
Yeah, that's also the problem with wow.
Do you like that flop, Esteban? What are your thoughts?
It's almost too good of a flop.
Yeah, what are you getting called by? Yeah, he checks it. Do you like a check here?
Yeah, I think in this spot when your opponent's in the straddle, you can check back. I generally don't like checking back in spots like this, but in this particular spot, when your opponent has absolutely nothing most of the time because they're going to have to call in the straddle like so much, it's a lot better to check back in a spot like this. And
It looked like Teddy actually bet out 25 there, and Esteban just calls.
yeah.
Do you like the just call there?
Yeah, the just call is pretty. I think it's pretty standard once you've got in this spot, only because your opponent's in the straddle, and he's most likely going to be drawing dead with all of his hands. And actually, that is a good river because he's gonna. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good river for Esteban because Teddy's gonna bluff that river a ton.
Now, does he just call here, or does he raise? What are your thoughts?
With the nuts,
Could go either way. You think he's going to go for a small raise or on the bigger side, just trying to cooler a king? Because keep in mind, if Teddy had a king, he makes a worse full house than Esteban here.
yeah.
Of course, he doesn't have one, and it's just going to be a fold. But like, if he had like king 10 or something, Teddy's going to think he has the nuts when Esteban actually has a slightly better full house.
Yeah, I would like actually what we've seen especially from like players like, Poker Guru a lot when they were playing the big game, the 5-10 game that we had, which is a really fun one if y'all want to go back and watch it. But a lot of the times in spots like this, you don't really want to target, like, for example, Teddy has 7-3 offsuit, so he's not going to call any raise, but you always want to target hands that are going to call. So even like something like a jam there, king's not going to fold.
Exactly.
So I've definitely been in that spot where, for example, I had quads in a hand, and it was like 3-3-3 ace, and I had quad threes, and I completely targeted an ace, and the pot was only like $30, but I ended up shoving like 350 when he raised 25, and he ended up calling me with an ace. So like a lot of the times you're just trying to target in those spots, trying to target what has to call you rather than like trying to go for value on something small.
It kind of goes back to that hand where Ant-Man had the king 4 versus the king 10, and we're talking about, betting. What are you getting called by when you bet?
Yeah.
But in that situation, there's actually quite a bit that can call you, because like even a 6 is going to have if he somehow runner the bottom end of the full house with a 6 that he was bluffing with, even a 6 is going to have a hard time folding on that board.
Yeah, and there's also a lot in that you really need to kind of know what your opponents are doing, and depending on how much they played with each other, it can change. Like if people think that that Joe is like really tight, for example, they're gonna fold a little more often, especially when he bets a flop like this. So it's actually good for him. Joe wants to take down pots here with the 9-7, even though he has a lot of equity with the straight draw. He definitely would be happy just taking down the 30.
Yeah, for sure. It's usually nice when you can just take it down without having to actually make your hand.
Yeah.
Especially multi-way against hands that, could have overs, could have a lot of equity even against your draw. And, you might have the best hand when you hit a 7, but you're not going to feel great about it and could potentially get bluffed off.
Yeah, I mean, denying any two cards, especially when you have 9 high on the turn, you're never going to really like too many other than your straight draws, so.
Right. Uh-oh. 7 deuce in the mix. Yep.
And he
Raise
goes
it up.
big.
Gonna raise it up to 20. Zach's probably gonna come along. Yeah, Ant-Man's coming along with the 4 deuce suited. Teddy comes along with the 7-5 offsuit. Joe does fold the 8-3 suited. Tough fold, tough laydown. But sometimes you just have to make it.
We see if 8-3 suited was in this, it'd be almost second favorite, so.
Forrest is my boy. Let's see the case 3 right here. Case 3 on the flop.
And a 3
No
would
bias.
actually be brutal because there is a lot of low cards here, so it would. Oh, wow.
Looks like a top pair for Zach. Bottom pair for Ant-Man and Eric.
And middle pair for
Middle
Teddy.
pair for Teddy.
And no one's going to
Third
think
pair for Forrest.
no one's going to think anyone hit anything on this board.
Little do they know, literally everybody hit something.
And a call.
So Eric C-bets, trying to presumably take it down since he thinks people are going to miss on this board a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, a 7 would be a absolutely brutal turn card. I don't even know if there are any 7s left in the deck, actually. Might not be.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot because there's a lot of turns that are just brutal for everybody.
Absolutely.
Checking the dark. Let's see it.
We still got 4 players going into the turn. Oh,
Wow, Forrest. Oh.
Forrest is sick right now. I said on the flop, not on the turn.
But honestly, he might have been saved here.
He might have
because
been, for
that,
sure.
That turn is insane for Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah. Ant-Man turns an open-ended straight flush draw. Talk about the perfect turn card. Especially since a deuce would actually not give him the best hand.
Yeah. And we could
Hitting
see he
his
has more
strokes.
equity than the Jack-10.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's an amazing turn card for him. Any ace, any 6, any club. I believe any 4 as well.
Yeah, any
Nobody has
4.
a 6 or an ace. Any, I mean, the deuce will still be behind Eric. Or would they chop? No, they wouldn't chop.
I'd like to see a raise here, actually. And it looks like he is going for a raise. This is a very strong raise when you have multiple people behind you.
Yeah.
And this kind of spot's really good to take with hands like this because you really just, oh, nice, he takes it down.
Why do you like a raise better than just a call there to try to realize your equity on the river?
Yeah, it's a lot better. Well, for multiple reasons. One is that you want to build up the pot so when you do hit that you're going to get stacks in. Because if something calls you on that flop, they're probably not going to fold many rivers.
Right.
And so you want to, one, deny equity from hands like Jack-10 or even just, like, take them down because he's ahead. But also just, like, take down the pot right there with a hand like 4 deuce. You're really happy. So a lot of the times it really depends on, is my goal to minimize and control the pot, or is it to take down the pot right then and there or make more money in the future? And the thing is, when you're used to playing a little more aggressive, it's good to take a spot like that.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on how aggressive you feel you want to be and kind of what your comfortability, like if you're playing 4 deuce suited pre-flop to a raise, then you're probably going to be raising that spot a little more often.
Right, and you also have to look at your own image. Like, people have seen Ant-Man getting involved in hands. You know, when the river comes an offsuit ace or the river comes a club, and he blasts, you know, you're going to be asking yourself, okay, really, how often does he have a straight or a flush here?
Yeah.
And you're probably going to be more likely to pay him off than you would other players, potentially.
Yeah, and it helps that he has a lot of 2-pair combos in that. We see, again, everyone's going to have each other dominated.
2 Jack-7s, 1 7-5 suited, and 1 10-6 suited.
Yeah, and
a 7, and a...
wow.
Everybody still hit something. We got 3 people with bottom pair and Zach with middle pair. Nobody's probably super crazy about this board, but we'll see if anybody decides to bet. No, it looks like it checks around. Going to the turn.
Ooh, that's a huge card for Ryan. And I'm surprised by Zach's check back here. I think what we've seen is, like, every time he's bricked, or sort of bricked, he's checked. So he's definitely in favor of keeping pots small.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could also be a nature of it being 4 ways. You
Yeah.
know? You can't feel great about your second pair no kicker, which will actually be the best hand here. It might just check around since everyone's got some showdown.
Yeah.
And of course his 10 will win. See if Teddy throws a stab. Nope. Just checks it down. Zach picks up $100. All money that went in pre-flop. Can't complain about that.
Yeah,
With
no.
the 10-6 suited on a king, queen, flush draw, high board.
Yeah, it's very different from the 2-5 game where a lot of people in the 2-5 game are continuation betting on every flop, like almost too much.
Yeah.
So it's actually fun to see that there is like a little more checkbacks in the spots. I'm wondering. I think maybe he was going for a delayed C bet, but then the Queen of Hearts came on the turn, which is probably like the worst card in the deck
For
him.
everyone.
Yeah.
And what do you think happens when you're c-betting too often?
I think what can happen is, depending on the players you're playing against, you can end up just bleeding a lot if you constantly are c-betting and then getting called very often.
And then kind of giving up on the turn. You're just kind of bleeding 40-50 over and over again.
Yeah, and I think one of the actual main problems we saw with the 2 or one of the main problems we see in the 2-5 game is people over c-bet, and then they're constantly having to continue to bluff.
Right, and spots where you really don't want to.
Yeah.
That was something I know you told me, was that when I was learning how to play and Ethan was coaching me up, every time I raised pre-flop, if it was a king high or ace high board, I was always c-betting every time. And he kind of told me, you know, it's okay to check on those boards sometimes. Everybody has diamonds. All the cards are red, but they're not diamonds.
Yeah, wrong red. And and we actually have 4 deuce offsuit in the mix.
I love it.
Teddy getting in there. I know he told me that
is.
he would get in there a lot.
I respect that. He is getting in there.
Yeah, he was saying last night we were playing the flight for the holiday bounty, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna get crazy with it."
And he was not all talk. You think Ant-Man calls here with his 8 high flush draw and pair of 8s?
I think I would mostly. I like a call, I like a raise. I actually like both a lot. The problem with the call is that it really kind of sucks if the heart doesn't come on the turn and your opponent just shoves.
Right.
And I think you can deny equity from a lot of hands if you shove.
You'd prefer a shove because Teddy being so short stacked right now.
Yeah, I like a shove or a fold.
Well, now you kind of have to go for it, or go with it rather. When
Yeah.
You have, when you make your flush, it's kind of hard to fold once you actually hit the card. And the Ace of Hearts is an amazing card too.
Yeah.
It's much better than like the 3 of Hearts because it's another flush your opponent can't have that's higher than yours.
Yeah, and I think we're just going to see a check called line here. Wow.
Another. How is he getting the greatest run out for an 8 high flush ever? Only losing to like 3 cards. That is amazing. Yeah, and of course his 8 high flush. He had a 4 high flush since the deuce was on the board. He was not quite playing the board, but the 8 is going to take it down.
Yeah, and I wonder, he probably calls if Teddy jams, but I wonder if it looks just so strong that he might fold, you know?
Right, if Teddy, that happened to me in a tournament where somebody, the pot was like 100,000. I bet 20,000 on the river, and they jammed for like 40,000 total. And I ended up folding because I was like, when is this a bluff? Turns out it was a bluff, and I got bluffed. But it looks so strong when those short stacks jam on boards like that.
Yeah.
Where they have no ability to fold out anything, in theory. And it becomes so strong that they actually do end up folding out some better hands because people are like, I just don't know what bluffs they're going to have here.
Yeah, no, and it's actually pretty funny because there's a lot of like new school ideas where, you know, you might bet like 30 big blinds in a tournament and then someone jams like 45 and you're just like, oh, they never have any bluffs here. But then there's also like people like deciding like, oh, I'm going to have bluffs in this spot now because no one thinks you have bluffs.
Exactly.
But then people start calling you more because so
it just becomes a leveling war basically is what you're saying.
Yeah. And Big 40 looks, he has that pause that he wants to get in there, you know, and
and then he doesn't because he has 7-3.
But Teddy getting in there with the 150 with the 4-3 offsuit.
Ooh.
Keeping it spicy.
He's going crazy. Let him flop 2 pair. He deserves it. He's been given action all night.
We see nines are going to be in a really good shape. A lot of flops that hit all of them are going to hit nines too. And pretty much any overpair flops are just going to go check, check.
Does Teddy? I believe Teddy has position right now. Does Teddy just blast off here? He's only got 130. Actually, he's only got 130. Never mind. Yeah, he just folds. I would have loved to have seen him do something crazy. Would have been kind of like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Being so short stacked that it just looks insanely strong.
Yeah, and the problem is that
Yeah, you're against 4 people. You really can't do that.
Yeah, 4 people, and also it just looks like a flush draw a lot too.
That's true. You can get called down.
Wow.
Oh, who wants it more? Who wants it more? You both just got counterfeit.
Well, 9 high is still winning right now.
Well,
It's
true.
the funny thing.
That's very true, but I cannot imagine. Yeah, I was gonna say I can't imagine he checks it back in position after being counterfeit
No.
on a board on a card that looks amazing for him.
Ooh, and Ryan's looking to make some plays here.
Wow, if he actually re-raises here, that is gonna be gangster. I would love to see that play. Because it folds out so many hands that you're actually losing to, like Queen 10, Ace High flush draws. He does end up just folding. Very understandable. That would have been a gangster spot to re-raise, though.
I have been in a spot exactly like this where I ended up on the river with 8 high with pocket 8s, and my opponent bet like $100 on the river, and I ended up calling with the 8 high. And I was right, because my opponent had pocket 5s. But I actually had put him exactly on pocket 5s, and I was like, yeah, I think it makes the most sense.
For a lifestyle, it's all about showing up.
That's pretty good. I'll give you that.
It was one of my better calls.
The real question is, how many not as good calls did you have to make before you landed on that golden nugget of a call?
You know, it's usually less my calls and more my raises that end up
Costing you?
costing me.
Yeah.
I think that's true for a lot of people.
I mean, it being a raise, by definition, would cost you more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're like, dang, I always respected this guy when he
Joe looks like he raised it up with the King Jack suited. And Esteban. Oh, Esteban with pocket 9s. Would you raise or just call here?
I
if you're
like
Esteban?
in out of position. I generally like to raise more, but honestly,
Oh, wait, Teddy's going for it.
he did just call, but then he put it in his stack.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
You had an incredible session.
Wow.
Well, I don't know about what happened after this.
Yeah, I was gonna say honestly, you can go either way a lot of the time. Wow, we're gonna see a shove by Teddy. This is weird because this can get Joe to fold. Does call.
He's got top 2. I don't think, especially against Teddy's range, I don't think you can fold there. But the real question is, will Esteban fold his 9 high flush draw?
I mean, I had 2 pair and I had the second nut club draw.
Yeah, he might think that he's against like
He does.
ace king with the ace of clubs type hands.
Yeah, there's so many hands where you're drawing dead.
But this is actually really good for Teddy. That shove actually lent him a lot of equity. He was pretty much drawing dead. And
It's
now
actually pretty close. He's got 36% equity against top 2 pair.
Yeah.
With 8-6 offsuit, when you're short stack, that's about the best you can hope for. Does not improve on the turn.
Bink. No.
And does not improve on the river. Improves to open-ended on the river, but unfortunately that's not going to help him.
Can we put out the ocean?
Ocean? Ocean card? Oh, they're running it twice. Ace of hearts also not going to help. Come on, give him a club one time.
Bink. No.
You're 0 for 2 on the bink.
All right. Put the third put the third board out there,
Run it
guys.
3 times. Run it 3 times. Run it until he hits a club.
Oh, and getting his candy out. Teddy, known as the Candy Man, he does a lot of. Well, he brings candy for the restroom and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he always has some candy. If you ever want
That's
candy
also on
and
the
you
list
see
of
him,
amenities, by the way.
yeah,
When we're talking about the barber shop and the golf simulator.
yeah. And what city is this club in? We're in San Antonio, Texas. Awesome club. We're rounders here in San Antonio, Texas. There's a lot to do here. There's a bar, tons of tables right now. There's like 10 or 12 tables, all playing cash. We have a tournament going on. It's a $200K guarantee bounty tournament, $300 buy-in. So we got 9 flights till Sunday. And we also have a lot of stuff. We have a bar. We've got a restaurant. We've got a golf simulator, a barber shop.
Open 24 hours.
You can
7 days a
practically
week.
live here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always at least one game going.
Yeah, I mean,
Literally, you can come at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. There will be at least one game going. I guarantee it.
yeah. Yeah, and,
And what more can you ask for?
me and Drew actually live 3 minutes away, so we're here a lot.
It's kind of
So-
dangerous.
Yeah, a bit dangerous. But if you do want to bet on Drew, he's here a lot. Awesome guy. He will be at the bar sometimes, and he'll definitely get you a drink. And tell him, if you do meet him at the bar, just say Ethan told you to buy the drink for you, and I got you on it.
Ethan gets kickbacks on all of the drinks that he sells. Don't he? Oh no, we got that 7 deuce game again. How many people are getting dealt 7 deuce? This seems way higher than usual.
Yeah, and what's funny is that the 7 deuce game is going to make people call more often with hands like the 7-5.
So unfortunate when you're playing the 7 deuce game and you're still dominating.
Yeah, I think he should definitely, if he is looking to raise here with the 7 deuce, you want to use a bigger size.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he could be trying to do what we talked about earlier, the reverse sizing tell, where he goes small so it looks super strong. And a good board for him to bluff on.
Yeah.
Not really going to hit. He might get floated by Ant-Man with his gut shot and backdoor flush. I don't think Ryan will stick around. No, he just decides to check it.
Yeah, and looks like this is going to be one for Ryan, going for a bigger sizing.
What do you think about this bet in position?
Yeah, I like it with the Queen of Hearts when I see both opponents check, and I know that Ant-Man is pulling a little wider. I'm fine with this bet. It also is a little bad because Ant-Man is calling a little wider, so he is going to have 5-4 here, for example. He is going to have maybe like 5 deuce of hearts, or maybe even 5 deuce of diamonds, or in this case 7-5 of diamonds, which has a decent amount of equity against a lot of the kind of like the flush draws that Ryan's going to have a lot of time.
Right. And that 3 is normally going to be a good card for Ryan, but against Ant-Man in particular, who I think would potentially call with some bottom pairs, it's a little scary, but yeah, I think you still have to go for it. It's like a little bit of a chunkier bet on that.
Yeah, and I like a bigger sizing on this side.
Yeah.
When you're bluffing in this spot, you definitely don't want to keep getting floated by a hand like 7-5.
Right.
Especially from someone like Ant-Man who can turn it into a bluff.
Yeah, he's very capable of even like a check raise on the river, and then, you're just dead in the water at that point.
Yeah. Good takedown by Ryan there. I know
Yeah,
he has
good
some fans.
good awareness to bet the flop there in position.
Yeah, and that's an important thing about position is when you're in position like that, you're going to have, if we see like Garrett Adelstein, if anyone watches him play G-Man, he likes to play almost 100% of his hands from the button, and that's how much he values just position. You see him cold call even with bad hands if he knows that his opponents are going to not re-raise. And yeah, I mean he generally does really well from the button.
Yeah, it's almost it's probably as important, or maybe sometimes even more important than the actual quality of the cards that you have.
Yeah, I always allude to when Anna Oberstrand, I believe her name was, won an online tournament. She was probably the best player in the world at one point. She won the EPT, or no, sorry, the WSOP Europe when she turned 18. As soon as she could play it, she won it. But she wanted to show...
She was ready to go.
She was ready to go instantly. And she wanted to show people that you could win a tournament without looking at your cards. So she played an online tournament.
Sorry, real quick, Ryan just flopped it.
Yeah, Ryan flopped it. Oh, yeah. But sadly, he's not against anything. But, yeah, so she played an online game where she hid her whole card. She couldn't see her whole cards. And she won. She won the tournament at never looking at her hand.
That is extremely impressive. Poor Ryan just flops it. Nobody has shit. Everyone just folds immediately.
Although I do believe she saw her hand when she was when she was playing heads up.
Yeah, heads up. It would make sense.
Yeah.
They would need to see your hand. To a lot of people, it makes sense that you need to see your hand the whole time. But, yeah, especially heads up.
Drew is not at the table. He is back here doing a lot of just backdoor technical stuff. He will be at the stream soon. He will be playing at some point once we get things going. But here I'm going to talk about our holiday bounty. This is going on right now. I believe our flight still has late reg going on. 200K guaranteed, $300 buy-in, $50 bounties for day 1, $200 bounties for day 2. So it's kind of like a super bounty. 40K in chips with 30 and 40-minute levels. You're going to start at 100 for the first level. It's going on till the 19th. That's this Sunday. We're going to have flights on Sunday morning as well as one on Saturday night. So if you need a last-minute jump in, you can do that. It's going to be live streamed. So I'm going to be there. Yeah, for the final table, will be live streamed. So I'll be at the final table one way or another. And it looks like we're getting the stand-up game going.
Oh, classic.
And for those who don't know what the stand-up game is, the way that it works is that whoever's the last person who doesn't win a hand, when you win a hand, you can sit down. Whoever's the last person to not win a hand is going to end up paying everybody a set amount that they chose. So it might be somewhere within like $10 to $25 that you owe everybody. So losing can cost like $125.
But the bad plays that you make trying to sit down are priceless.
Yeah. And we see everyone's getting in there. We could see something like Estevan taking this hand as a raise. Does just call. And
did Joe just limp?
Joe just limped. I think he knows that people like Ant-Man, for example, with this exact hand is going to raise.
Great awareness by him. Is that just a...
Oh, did you?
Oh, it looks like there might be some confusion. It looks like he meant to raise, but he only threw in one chip, so that might be... Okay, it does end up counting as a raise. And now do we see the back raise? Yes, we do see the back raise from Joe. Looks very strong, but, normally back raises can be scary because, as you can attest, I'm sure, they look very strong.
Yeah.
But in a game where you're playing the stand-up game...
And the 7-deuce game.
And the 7-deuce game. He just combines both of them, does the back raise with 7-deuce to sit down.
Yeah, and honestly, Ant-Man can actually sometimes even raise here, so he does just go with the call.
Not in good shape, though.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ant-Man had just shoved it, to be honest.
Yeah, and then you kind of have to call off if you're Joe,
yeah.
I think.
And this flop is going to be... Oh, wow.
Well, pretty good.
Yeah. Joe just flops
nut flush
pretty
draw,
much the nuts.
top pair. Does double check his cards to make sure he has the spade. This is why you got to memorize your suits before the flop, guys. And it looks like he's probably going to throw out a tiny bet, 75.
Yeah, and I like the down bet. I think this bet is going to induce a lot of re-raises, and this is more of a new school idea, is you kind of want your opponent to call you. You want your opponent to see the turn.
Are you surprised to see the float by Ant-Man on this board?
No, I think he has some ill intentions here.
I think you could be right. He might rep this 10. I wouldn't be surprised if he went for a check raise line, but Joe does check it back.
Yeah, and on some spade rivers, Ant-Man will bet there,
Yeah, and I mean, obviously he'd be, if it did come a spade, he'd be betting into the nuts, but you have to, well, not on a paired board, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just happens, but yeah, it looks like he's going to blast off here. Do you think Joe just calls this?
Yeah, he just calls.
I don't see him getting away. I don't see him folding.
Yeah, he has to call. I don't think you can go for value because Ant-Man does have most of the flushes here when he's calling pre-flop and then calling the flop. He is going to do this with a lot of his flushes.
And you're saying that because he has a lot of things like suited connectors, 7-9 of spade type hands. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And he is going to play those hands. And that's why Joe just calls. I can't really get value off of anything.
Yeah. Goes back to what we were talking about again earlier is, when you bet or raise, what are you actually trying to accomplish? What are you trying to get called by? And in that spot, really there's nothing that is worse than his hand that he can get called by. Like maybe king, queen with the queen of spades would call, but even that I kind of doubt,
Yeah.
kind of doubt you'd see a call from that hand.
And
To a
good
river raise.
good play by Joe. That check on the turn earned him an extra like 325. I believe that was the bet.
Yeah, I think that's just knowing your opponent, knowing that he's going to float wide on the flop, and then try to take it down on a lot of rivers.
Yeah, he got a lot of value there. And that's the effect of the stand-up game is Ant-Man just lost $525 in that hand.
Trying to avoid losing,
125 or so
125.
probably. Yeah.
Oh, the whole table limbed. I don't know.
That is what is fun about the stand-up game, though.
Or I guess if they're doing 25, it would be
200.
200, yeah.
Yeah. But still, I haven't done the math on that, but I do think 500 is more than 200, from what I remember.
But if you won,
Ah.
700 is more than.
That's also true.
And this is the effect of the stand-up game.
I love the stand-up game. Why is this not going at every table all the time? And the 294s. Oh, I thought Teddy would be in there. Oh, he
And-
takes it down?
And you love to take it down there as
You're so
Esteban.
happy, yeah. Saved his $25. That is massive.
And they do have to show when they win for the stand-up, when they take their seat, they have to show the hand they won with.
That's just kind of a fun thing, right?
Yeah, it's a newer thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this game definitely rewards and punishes tighter players. And I think more so on the punishing side, because eventually you're going to get to a spot where, Ant-Man calling with ace-6 there, he is going to call there with, like, for example, Jack-10 with the Jack of Spades and then hit the trips on the turn.
Right.
And suddenly your nutted hand like ace-king with the ace of spades is downgraded to a lot and only getting called there because of the situation of the game.
Yeah, and I
Ooh.
mean, even Ant-Man, who's been getting involved, I think even he's not getting involved with ace-6 suited to that back raise under normal circumstances.
Yeah. And we probably don't even see a back raise under normal circumstances.
That's also true, for sure. He would probably just raise under the gun. No, I think that whole hand was just great awareness from, I'm sorry, what's the player in seat 9 again?
Joe Berg.
Joe, yeah.
Yeah.
That was just great awareness by him to expect a raise and then to just play the hand that way.
I'm curious to see how Forrest plays this.
That's big 40.
Yeah, big 40. Does just call.
Knows that he's going to be getting 3-bet wider, probably.
Yeah. Which, you usually want to re-raise, but there's a lot of reasons why you might just call. Wow, and this flop is brutal for Eric because he's essentially drawing dead, but you are going to put your opponent on a lot of aces, so you're like, okay, he probably doesn't have diamonds then.
You mean ace-x hands, right? Not
Yeah.
pocket aces, just to be clear for the stream.
Yeah. So Forrest is feeling pretty good about this one. Although, depending on how Forrest's comfortability is, he might go for too big of a raise. That's going to make your opponent
Yeah, I was
kind
going to
of
say,
afraid.
what are your thoughts on raising versus calling on this board?
I think people over-raise in this spot. I think you can just call a lot and then check a lot. You kind of want your opponent to have bluffs, especially when you re-raise pre-flop, and this kind of board is just actually amazing for you with the ace-queen.
Right. Yeah,
But-
you're very rarely going to be in much danger here.
Yeah. But the thing is, if a diamond does turn, he can check and is going to get a lot more. No diamond on the turn. Does have a lock on this board. And he goes for a check. I like the check.
Now, do you go for a double check raise here if your opponent bets?
It really depends on your comfortability. It's important to, like, your opponent called you on the flop. Where do I put him? Am I comfortable losing $735 here? And
So when you say, yeah, you mean more his comfort with the size of the game overall.
yeah. And there's a lot of factors like that.
Because Forrest, we were saying this earlier in the night, but this is definitely bigger than he usually plays, correct?
Yeah.
So, yeah, 735. You might not be comfortable getting it all in with just top pair and the queen high flush draw for 735, depending on what player you are.
All in by seat 1.
Oh, and he says all in, I think.
But he is very comfortable getting it in and gets the quick fold from Eric. So he does go for the double check raise. I kind of like it. Shows the ace queen.
Yeah, nice
Gets to take a
takedown.
seat. Yep. Love it.
Yeah, and I like both plays. I would normally, with as strong of a hand as ace queen there, elect to not jam.
Mm-hmm.
I want to. I think in those spots you can actually get your opponents to feel committed when you do something like maybe like 300 there that is essentially a min raise that you are gonna get a lot of the times just like. Let's say a diamond does come on the river, or your opponent feels like, oh, he only has 450 and he checked again on the river. I have to bluff, you know?
Right, exactly. I was thinking if he just flats on the turn, even there might be a world where, and then the river's like an offsuit deuce or something. There might be a world where he gets blasted into all in or something.
Yeah,
It's a pretty easy call.
and you never know. I mean, you don't. The thing is, like, if you could see that your opponent, like we can, doesn't have any equity, then you definitely are going to want to, slow it down a bit. But
Right, of course, if he knew what his opponent was holding, he
Yeah.
definitely would have just called and tried to let him bluff. But that's the benefit of us being back here. We can actually see what everyone has.
yeah, and I will say specifically when you do have that specific hand with the ace queen and the queen of diamonds, it's a little less. It should be a little less scary for you. But again, it comes down to how do I feel about losing this? Me and Drew actually talked about this specifically a lot. Is like, okay, even though I want to make the right play, is making the wrong play today and getting unlucky going to make me play really bad tomorrow or the next day? And sometimes you want to make a play that kind of sets you up for the next few days to feel better about how you're going or what's happening.
How is Queen 7 the best hand on this board?
The computer hand.
The guy sitting down just kept winning.
Oh, and it does go check around.
I'm not surprised. Oh, another ace. Okay, now Teddy's feeling a lot better about his hand.
Yeah. But we can see some bluffs, and 40 feeling strong about the last hand he played.
He's feeling himself for sure.
Yeah.
And he's been playing tight. He was forced to show that ace queen, so people, kind of know what he had there, obviously.
Yeah.
And they see how he played that hand. And he gets called by a 6 and a 7, and I think he has to bluff here, because it's unlikely his opponents are on an ace when it just goes check all the way around and then call.
Yeah. But
now, do you bet
rough.
here? Yeah, do you bet here?
If I was going to, I'd go big, but
yeah, would you go
it's
like over bet
rough.
even? Like 75 maybe?
Yeah, I would have liked 75 if I was going to go 50. I think there's not much of a difference in terms of losing money when you're just doing 75. It gets Teddy to fold
the best hand.
The best hand.
By calling. Ant-Man gets to sit down. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, it's easy to say when we can see the cards, but maybe something for Teddy to consider is that Ant-Man is going to call super wide, just trying to get the sit down.
Yeah, especially for how little it is.
Right, exactly. 50 to win, 300, and also to win your 25 back, essentially.
Yeah.
From not losing the sit down game. But, I mean, it's easy to say when we can see the cards. When you see bet and then call, especially from a tight player, betting out like Forrest into 4 people or 6 people or whatever it was on the turn and then 3 people on the river, kind of hard to imagine that your Queen 7 is good.
Yeah, and it's weird. The stand-up game is why I wouldn't bluff into 2 people once I get called from the 10, because people are he's getting $50 for a pretty decent chance to sit down. Like, you're not going to usually be against an ace the way that the action went. And John Paul's going to wake up with jacks here.
Goes for a big raise, which I kind of like to try to narrow the field down.
Yeah, you narrow the field down, but also, it's the stand-up game, so people are going to either overcall or, think that you're just trying to take advantage of the stand-up game.
Right, you're going to be against a lot of, King 9 type hands that are, 30% against you.
Yeah.
Or this exact situation where you're somehow 82% against 2 other opponents. Dream scenario.
Yeah. And you're very rarely 82% in poker.
Well, would you say that he's more than 82% on this flop?
No, he's not. He's 75%.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Ryan has a gut shot. That's messed up.
Gut shot, and Teddy has backdoor flush draw.
Right. Still loving this flop if you're John Paul.
Sort of. I feel like this, I feel like when you have a hand like this, you actually feel worse because you're like, wow, what's calling me? I literally have everything. Wow, and that turn adds gives Ryan an open-ended, essentially. He's double-gutted.
Oh yeah, that's true. Any 6 or 10 will give him a straight.
Yeah, and any spade is going to be, and this is why you see John going for an overbet here, is he really not only wants to take down this pot for the stand-up game, but also doesn't want to get sucked out on.
Yeah. And would you overbet this if the stand-up game wasn't on?
I would actually tend to overbet on pots like this because you do want because since it's such a like wet-ish board where the only things that are calling you are flush draws, straight draws, and sets. I'd be wanting to target the sets, so I would overbet because one, I want to deny some equity from straight flush draws, and two, I also want to try to target again those coolers or maybe the board pairs with the flush draw, and then your opponent has to call another overbet.
Like
so
the 5 of spades on the river is what you're saying, and
Yeah.
then there's a paired board and the flush comes in.
I think a good hand to look at if anyone wants to wonder about those overbet spots is Poker Guru recently played on one of our streams on our 5-10 game, or I believe actually
That might have been
I
5 to
think-
25 or something.
I think it might have been 25-50. I'm blanking out, but anyway, Poker Guru and Jesse Sylvia and all them played, but Poker Guru ended up playing a hand against Ronda where he went overbet on the turn, and he was able to jam for 2 times the pot, which ended up being an $8,000 jam, and get called in a pretty big spot. So a lot of the times when you can go for something like overbet and then overbet again on the river, targeting hopefully your opponent in the case of John, you're hoping that your opponent is going to have a lot of hands that end up having to call.
And I watched that hand, and in that hand in particular, a lot of players, I think, he ended up making like, I think 10,000 off that hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of players in that spot would have made probably closer to like 4,000.
Yeah.
But him knowing how to play the spot, and also being fortunate to be up against one of the hands that could call that was actually worse than what he had, was what allowed him to make so much profit off that hand.
For sure, and it's important to know when you're targeting a spot like that. And Ant-Man's sitting down, but he's not sitting down for any hands because he is...
He's in there.
He's in there. Ant-Man is a good player who loves action. I'm very much the same.
Oh, didn't we see 5-3 of clubs fold on the flop?
Yeah.
That's a messed up turn.
Yeah, and 5-3 of clubs is kicking themselves, but honestly, you still don't like having to draw. Well,
well, you know.
Yeah, and,
Messed up
and
run.
Ryan checks.
And it looks like Ant-Man is going to win that. Yeah, I thought his 9s were good enough, I assume.
Yeah, and the sizings of the bets were small. It's kind of the problem with not like getting ready to size up and looking at the pot. Sometimes you can forget. I think we all do it. We forget where the pot is, how big it is, and what our incentives are. But also you're playing against a guy who's been calling a lot more, who is not afraid to get in the mix, and that can be really scary. Like there's actually something that happens where if you're so aggressive, you actually end up making it to where you're going to be less gambly because people are going to be more afraid to actually like bet big against you because they never know what you have. So it makes this inverse thing where you would think aggressive players lose a ton, but they actually end up making people not go for a lot of value because people don't want to get stacked.
Because, on that board, Ant-Man is probably one of the few, maybe the only player at this table that can have a lot of the combinations of 2-pair, some of the random straights that get there, that a lot of people are not going to have.
Yeah.
Which makes him scary to play against.
No, super scary. It's and also when he has hands like this, he's getting called a lot more often, even raised a lot more often.
For sure. But looks like he gets called by Ryan with the 8-5 of clubs in the small blind.
Actually, 8-5 offsuit.
Oh, 8-5 offsuit, my mistake.
Yeah, which is even it's another testament to how the stand-up game really rewards those who are sitting down because you can just take advantage of people trying to get their seat.
Does end up folding. That's unfortunate for a player like Ant-Man. When you have ace-king, the board comes perfect, and you somehow don't get paid you, despite your image. That's always unfortunate.
Yeah, and it also it depends on what his opponent's kind of image of him even are.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people feel like, oh yeah, you can see V pips here.
This is how often somebody enters the pot.
Yeah.
Willingly. So like it doesn't count if you're the big blind or something or a straddle, but this is every time you call or raise pre-flop, basically.
Yeah, and we can see Ant-Man has played 60% of his hands. Teddy actually pretty close to 50%, and John Paul is actually a lot higher than I'd expect.
Yeah, I guess he's been getting in the mix a lot more.
Yeah, and Joe and Big 40, even though they haven't played too many hands, they actually have a pretty decent VPIP. And, you know, you can go either way. It's all about your comfortability and where you want to be.
And, you know, that number doesn't necessarily, for a session as short as this, that number doesn't 100% tell you where somebody's play is. I mean, when you look at the difference between Ant-Man and some of the players that are lower on that list, yes, there's a pretty big difference, but somebody could have extremely high VPIP one session and then low VPIP another session just based on the cards that they're getting dealt. Because we've only seen probably like, 30 or 40 hands tonight?
Yeah.
It's hard to get much of a sample size from just 30 or 40 hands. And, Ryan has Ant-Man dominated here.
Yeah.
But Ant-Man has a good hand.
Oh, a really good hand. And we actually saw an ace folded, so...
Looks like he's just going to flat.
10 high board could be really dangerous.
Are you rooting for it? Are you sick? Do you like to see the coolers, Ethan?
I do like coolers. I think everyone likes coolers. As long as I'm not part of the cooler, I'm fine with it. And
I think that's interesting. You think Ryan's going to bet? Yeah.
Yeah, and he does go on the larger side. He just wants a seat. I think you want to go a little smaller here with this hand. You have just such a good hand. But maybe he knows that Ant-Man wants to float a lot on boards like this.
Would you float to that bet size as Ant-Man with your backdoor spade draw?
Well, I mean...
What an action card. I think it's going to go all in on this street. What do you think?
With the sizing that Ryan chose, very possible.
Oh, man, what an action card. They both turn a straight draw. Oh, he just calls. And then Ryan does get there with the nut flush. Ant-Man sitting on king high at this point.
What a turn.
Turned the world, bricked it all. What an action turn, man. I really want to see it go in.
There is some level of like, okay, I don't need to go all in as much because I'll see my opponent's hand anyway because he's standing up and needs a show.
That's true.
So there is like, you're going to instantly get rewarded for your like not jamming.
Right, that's what I think leads to a lot of calls is what you're saying is people wanting the instant gratification of knowing if they made the right play or not.
Yeah.
Versus in the stand-up game, like normally when they just take it down, you don't get to see their hand. But with this particular version of the stand-up game going, you're going to get to know whether you made the right play or not.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't impact our decision-making from a theoretical perspective, but we all know that it does.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a super wizard or something.
Yeah, I mean, we're emotional beings. There's a lot that goes on, a lot of stuff that... Ooh, and Forrest is going to wake up with kings here. Doesn't look like Joe wasn't at his seat.
Forrest has his seat already, correct?
Yeah.
From the ace-queen hand.
Depends how big the flop pot.
Which is actually great for him.
Oh, wow. And he raises to 50.
Whoa.
And this is kind of a show of like, I don't want aces to call me. Like any ace six.
I would have liked the raise to 50 if he was standing up.
Yeah.
Because then people will think he's just trying to take it down for free and get a seat. I don't know about it when you're already got your seat. You're not going to be as incentivized. Yeah. Doesn't get any action, unfortunately. I don't know if I would have picked that sizing when I'm already sitting, but I get what he was going for. I think he was hoping that people would be desperate enough to get a seat that they'd be willing to call the 50, kind of the opposite of what we're talking about.
Yeah. I think he also just saw that Ryan got called for 60, but I don't think he saw, maybe he didn't see that Ant-Man had straddled for 15. Which...
Yeah, it makes a big difference for sure.
Yeah.
Versus it just being 1-2. Was there a $5 straddle on that hand?
It looked like there might have been.
There might have been, yeah.
But even so... Yeah, I mean, kings and hands like that, they don't come very often. And you got to be okay. I think a lot of people, they're afraid to get sucked out on.
Right.
And they don't want to have to fold a hand like kings, like John did. John, that fold was so good. It's so brutal to have to fold kings in that kind of spot, but it's recognition of a player who's both not afraid but also good enough to fold in a spot like that.
Well, it's a different type of being not afraid. Like, not afraid to potentially get bluffed in a
Yeah.
spot where he thinks that his opponent is not going to have enough bluffs, you know?
Yeah.
Like John, when he folded the kings earlier, it was like really hard. We were even talking about it on the mic, trying to come up with what types of bluffs there would be with the particular line taken, and there just weren't many that made any sense.
Yeah. And we see that 8-6 is going to come in the lead.
How
again.
many times has this happened where second pair on an ace-high board has been the best hand? Oh, and he goes ahead and bets it. Interesting. I guess he thinks that he can get called by enough draws, like straight draw, flush draws.
Yeah, and this is a good spot for, like, Forrest to look back and think, like, okay, we have 5-3 offsuit calling a bet here on this board, and 8-6 is the one who's betting and is ahead. So you definitely want to, wow.
Ooh, makes trips.
That's actually a card that Teddy might call on because of the
Definitely.
check on the turn. With the diamonds missing,
Did he get snapped off?
yeah, he got snapped off.
That he snaps him off. Yeah, and I mean, the other thing, just to go back to the pocket king's hand, not to dwell on it too much, but the unfortunate thing about that is that we look at big pots that we lose when we're, looking at whether we're, profitable as a player or not. But those hands where you don't make as much as you could have made can eat away at your profitability just as much,
Yeah, almost worse.
Yeah, it can be worse. But yeah, nice river for Esteban. Gets paid off by bottom pair.
Yeah.
Always happy when that happens.
And guys, if y'all can like and subscribe, we're putting out a lot of content here. We're trying to make this stream big, and it really helps us for the algorithms. If you like and subscribe, I'm Ethan Bruin here with Michael Largent, and yeah, we're just here trying to make as good of a stream as we can for y'all, trying to make sure that everything's in order, everything's looking really fresh, and we have these lineups coming every week. This is our 1-2, but usually on Tuesdays we have a bigger game, 2-5, with Big Daddy Chaz, Poker Traveler, a lot of the Texas favorites, and we have some cool stuff coming up in the future. So definitely subscribe, and
The final table of that holiday bounty will
Yeah.
be on the live stream as well.
that one's gonna be fun. Last time me and Jesse Sylvia commented on we had a $1 million guarantee here, and me and Jesse Sylvia did that commentary. So that was a really fun event, and
And we had a lot of like poker content creators here for that whole series as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Rounders is one of the biggest card rooms in Texas, and there's always stuff going on here.
100%.
People visit from all over the country, all over the world even, and yeah, it's just a great place to play. Teddy's
Oh
all in.
wow! And Forrest re-raised here with the Queen Jack.
I like it. I think it's not strong enough to just call, probably.
Yeah, out of position. It's definitely weird when it's not what when you raise the kings that way and then do this, it can definitely be a little
Yeah.
some backdoors. But
Got a few outs.
all right, looks
Got a lot
Teddy's
less
got
outs.
it.
That is a terrible turn.
There you go.
Oh, they both make a full house. What a sick cooler.
Boat over boat,
Boat over boat on the Rounders live stream.
and those eights are cards that Forrest definitely wanted.
How much you got?
Yeah, for sure. To make some straight combinations happen.
Yeah, and there's no more eights, so there's no.
He could no, backdoor diamonds are dead, never mind. And an ace just for good measure, just to rub it in a little bit. And Teddy actually scoops both. I think they were both about 50-50 pre-flop, so
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to see a fold there by Forrest when he limps. I think a lot of the time when you're deciding on what you want to do in terms of, like, let's just say I'm limping, right? Well, I'm limping with these hands because I want to either keep the pot small or trying to keep like a more tight image and mostly use that tight image for post-flop play rather than getting it in on like flips and stuff. But also he just saw Teddy, might have jammed in the dark or something in his mind. So
Yeah, and Queen Jack, against a blind range is definitely going to be probably good enough to call.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, you also have to wonder if there's some part of, because this has definitely happened to me where I will either bungle a hand where I had a lot of value and I just didn't get nearly as much value as I should have, or some type of hand like that where you make a mistake and don't get paid the way that you should, kind
Yeah.
of like what happened with the pocket kings, and then you start feeling like, okay, I have to make this back up because
Yeah.
I messed up that other hand. I have to go for these crazy flip play. I mean, not it wasn't the craziest play ever or anything, but it's a play that I don't know that he would have made that before the pocket king's hand.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Ooh, and Estevan having to fold king queen twice, but good recognition of folding king queen there. I think it can be really hard for some people to fold there.
Yeah, it definitely can be, and he was both right. He was right both times.
Yeah. And Eric's definitely going to have to defend here, but maybe he's thinking about some other things. Does call. I'd like to see a little bit bigger of a sizing by John here because of the stand-up game, but still, getting heads up with a hand like Jack-9 is still fine. Ooh, and King Queen would have.
The second
got
time
there
he gets
again.
punished for folding correctly. Remember the other time it was two queens on the board?
Yeah.
This time it's king high. The correct play is not always rewarded.
No,
Unfortunately.
there's no justice in poker sometimes.
There really isn't.
Except for when John makes the fold with the kings and then gets rewarded.
Give Rounders Live a like just for that fold with the kings earlier. I don't know if you guys are here for that or not, but it was excellent.
No, that was one of the better folds I've seen, especially for the game. It's 1-2, and a lot of the times you don't see folds like that at 1-2.
He folded kings on Queen 7-3-5 Rainbow. Come on, give this man some props. Hit that like button.
Yeah, and John, last minute, I went over to say hi to someone at the table that was next to John, and that person asked me about the stream, and then John overheard and was like, "Yeah, let me get on the table. Let's do it."
It's a last minute addition, and he's definitely earned his spot here, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, up 2.3K from a 1K buy-in.
Yeah,
It's always
not bad,
nice.
Not bad.
Especially when most people would be down a G right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And Zach, I did not notice is at 2.1K. I don't know if he added on or if he's been doing well, but I haven't seen him. He kind of snuck up to 2.1K
Yeah,
there.
I think that's an add-on, I would have to imagine. I can't remember him winning any huge pots, but could just be forgetting. It's actually in a terrible spot. They're making him stand up to eat rice. That's messed up. And he's dominated. And he just and Eric just flops it.
Eric wishes he was against better hands. This has happened twice for Eric, actually, right?
No, I believe it was
Ryan.
It was Ryan that flopped the other straight. Yeah, he was against like trash, like Jack High or something. Actually, it was worse than Jack High because Jack High would have had a gut shot.
I think it was like 7 high.
Yeah. Nobody had much of anything. Cannot imagine him getting. He might get one street of value. Oh, Zach ends up actually betting out. And he just calls. You like the just call here?
Yeah, I think in this spot with the rainbow board, it's a great call. Just call to get your opponent to keep betting, and this is a great turn for Zach to keep betting. I mean, Zach picks up open-ended, well, double-gutted, and oftentimes you're going to feel like you're good when you hit the 8. So,
yeah, the 8 would be. I mean, there's 2 8s in the muck we know from Ant-Man's hand. But
yeah,
8 would be a sick card. King would be an even sicker card for Eric.
Yeah. But, I mean, at least most of the time you're free rolling here. So.
Oh, yeah. No flush draws to be worried about. And he does go for the raise. Would you raise the turn? Or would you wait till the river?
I think we're deep enough here to where raise makes sense. But I think I'd go for a smaller sizing.
Mm-hmm. And why is that? You just want to get called by more?
Yeah, you want to get called by more, but you also want to give more room, more incentive for people to re-raise. Wow, we got a re-raise.
And
well,
not all in, though. Oh, he wants it to... That's like a min-raise.
Yeah.
He wants it to look insanely strong. Oh, that's such a great move. It's so unfortunate that he's up against the nuts.
And this would work against, single aces or even ace-10, ace-9.
Would you fold ace-queen here? Would you feel good about ace-queen in this spot? I mean, I'm not saying you'd fold it for sure, but
I
I'm
don't-
saying you don't feel good about it.
I mean, I'm not putting my opponent on Jack 8, so I would have liked to see just a call by the King Jack, but I understand the all in. But you know, maybe he thinks his opponent has, you know, pocket aces style hand, which probably gonna call. But yeah, in this spot, Zach's in a brutal spot. If he had gone a little smaller, he might want to fold more. He goes so big that he's getting like 5-1 on his call here.
Is 3% enough equity to call when you're getting 5-1? Obviously, we are the only ones that can see the cards.
Yeah, he
Not
probably
making fun of Zach at all.
he probably
bluff
thinks
spot.
he has about 20%, which is
Unfortunately, not correct in this case,
yeah.
but not a terrible assumption to make. Yeah, he's in agony. You can definitely tell as he stands up eating that rice.
And Eric is just loving life right now.
Oh yeah.
When your opponent doesn't snap call, you're like, yep, that's not aces.
Yeah, it's probably not a set, and it's also obviously not. He obviously doesn't also have King Jack,
Yeah.
so you just know that you're almost always good.
I mean, he could be slow rolling the King Jack.
Oh, he does call.
Ugh, brutal.
Yeah, pretty rough.
And
spot.
I did like the re-raise. And King on the river, it seals.
King on the river, seals it for Zach. Just kidding. Nice hand by Eric. Does manage to make the maximum there. In part due to a very favorable run out, but
Yeah, that turn is brutal.
yeah, it's rough for Zach. Tough to
And
put your opponent on King Jack.
that's where the stand-up game can be really dangerous. Yeah, a lot of the times the stand-up game is just going to put you in spots where, like this, where, you know, you're losing 2.1K to hopefully not lose like $200. So rough run out though. I do like the bluff. I think you have to have the cojones to make that bluff. So, you know, I'm sure he's not happy about it, but if anything, he could be happy about making a really good play that just happened to, you know, run into the nuts. But
I was thinking like ace queen or something.
I was trying to decide.
Actually trying to fade something.
if you like big pots and big bluffs, you'll definitely want to tune in for all our streams because we have a ton of streams that have been insane. We had a stream the other day where Big Daddy Chaz blind shoved like 3K 4 times and was down 12K in about maybe an hour. And then by the end of the stream, actually ends up making it all back, which was insane. So, you know, we have some great streams. We have some great personalities. And if you just hit that like and subscribe button, it really helps us out. And you can go watch, you know, all the hands. We've been uploading as well on our YouTube, different clips, different great content. And those come out every week if you want to see little clips from big hands that we have. So you can see who's winning in our game here. Ant-Man down 3.2, but Esteban down, up 2.3. Everyone else is having a pretty nice night. You know, when you're up like 1K or so, you're definitely feeling pretty happy with what's going on. And I actually think that Ant-Man is more down like 2.2K. But also these players, it is match the sack, so they might have added on a little more.
Throw another one. 15 total.
Hope y'all are liking the stream. Hope everyone's having a nice night. I'm Ethan Bruin, and my commentator who's in the restroom, my side co-commentator for tonight, is Michael Largent, a player I've been coaching. He's done really well. He started last year in June of last year, and recently, this June, went full-time, and he has just been crushing it at the tables. And it's crazy because when I first met him, he literally didn't know what an ace was. So it's cool to see that, you know, study and hard work really can pay off. And also, you know, experience. He's put in a lot of time. Really good hand to Eric there. It's a huge comeback for him. I think he had been starting to have a bad night. He had a bad night the other night when he was up, started up about 3 to 4K, and then, oh, and what a trooper. Zach does come back into the game. It's hard to come back into the game after a loss like that, but kudos to him for, again, having the cojones to do it.
Hey, do we get the 15 from Zach for last man standing?
Yeah, and look at all these hands, guys.
You
You
don't
can't
need-
you can't miss with Texas poker. It's amazing to see all the hands that end up getting in there. And wow, Ant-Man's just gonna flop the 4-high flush here.
We're gonna make hey.
Oh, and it looks like Zach does have to pay the stand-up game because not only did he lose that hand, but he also has to owe the $15 to everyone that the stand-up game entails, which ends up being another, what is that?
15 times
120.
8.
The odds
Yeah,
make it
something like
really
that.
good.
He's getting a little more than 3 to 1.
Ooh.
That was 900 to 1.
Esteban's in a rough spot because Ant-Man is definitely going to do this with a lot of different hands, but Ant-Man only has 392 from the looks of it. Nice laydown by Esteban. I think that's a hard laydown to make, especially against someone like Ant-Man.
He's been making good laydowns the whole time, honestly.
Yeah, I've never seen him play, but he's been playing really well. I think he's been pretty solid. He got value, and he knew to check back on the 8-6, and then knew to get value on the 8-6. And
Yeah, when he river trips.
yeah,
Yeah, I haven't seen him really get out of line at all. He's just been playing pretty solid so far. I ran into John in the bathroom, and I was like, "That was a sick fold with the pocket kings."
yeah. What do you say? Thanks, man.
He was like, "Oh, thanks.
Thanks, man.
I really didn't want to make it."
Yeah, I love those times when you go to the restroom and you see one of the.
It was right
guys
outside the
restroom.
restroom. We weren't
Oh,
like
okay.
both. We weren't both like next to each other at the urinals or anything. It was right outside by the water bottle thing.
I've had that happen a few times where the guy who got stacked, I end up seeing him in the restroom at the urinal, and I'm like, oh no.
And the other ones that everybody holds do have one. I just have the cord. I don't know if they're out with the club.
A bit unsure of the etiquette in those situations, right?
And some of them are really tall, so like they're I'm like, please don't look over.
Maybe you're just really short.
Yeah, I'm almost 5'11", almost.
Alright, you're not short. Fine.
I'm not that short. I just recently been going to the chiropractor fixing up that back.
Is that gonna give you a couple inches?
Yeah, definitely. It has. I mean, I feel taller.
Looks like Zach is gonna raise up the king 10 off.
Yeah, we're getting in the
Something's going
mix.
on. Oh, he's just getting a phone charger. Like, what is happening here? Yeah, Forrest is in there with the ace 4 suited as well.
Yeah,
Ryan
getting
with
in
the
there.
ace 9.
We don't have it on it here at all.
And everyone has each other as outs again.
Again. It seems improbable how often that's been happening tonight.
Yeah.
And again, second pair on a queen high board is going to be the best hand.
Yeah.
They actually both Ryan and Forrest flopping a pair here.
Ooh, and
I think they stopped doing that, but maybe you could ask. I mean, this game.
He continues on this board.
yeah, I'm surprised that Zach doesn't. If I were Forrest, I would continue to this small bet.
Zach
But
was with the king 10, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't call. At least a small bet. I think a part of it is like I don't want to get another cooler spot.
Yeah. It's definitely can happen. Once you get into one cooler spot, you start seeing monsters under the bed. You stop making calls in spots where you should.
Yeah, and this will be a great spot for Forrest to use his image if he can in position. Oh, and they both check in the dark.
Interesting. Yeah, and I wouldn't expect too much top pair when they both agree to check in the dark.
Yeah.
I think this is just going to go check, probably. Yeah, it does. So you would have liked to have seen him turn his bottom pair into a bluff in that spot?
Yeah, I think if I have a bottom pair with a flush draw, I like, especially with his image would just be absolutely phenomenal in position there.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's weird. It's something that in that kind of spot that we don't see enough is like the raise in that spot when you're calling is a lot better than the call because one, you're going to get your opponent to fold to ace 9, and two, you're going to get a lot of equity in position because your opponent's going to even check queen on the turn, So if you do pick up additional equity, you're allowing yourself to see a lot cheaper turns, and you're allowing yourself to get hands like ace 9 to fold with your image.
On the lodge, they would say whoever sits the most throw in the party.
But again, it's always about comfortability. Like, you know, I think I think we've all been there where we're up like 300, 400, and we're like, yeah, I don't feel like losing today. I mean, not that you
Yeah.
ever feel like losing, but
There's some days where you're definitely more okay with it than others.
yeah. The problem is that it can be exploited by something like Eric here, who's gonna probably, I was gonna say, probably call or raise with the 3-2 suited, and Ryan, who might even raise with the King 10. We do just see some calls.
Would you do you think you'd be squeezing with the king 10 from the small blind?
Squeezing is definitely better than calling, but it really depends. Again, like, okay, do I feel like if I hit a 10 on the flop or a king, is it gonna be better than what my opponents are raising?
Right, and with Forrest again with his tight image as the original raiser, you might be a little bit more wary about squeezing his open than someone else's.
Yeah,
And we're gonna see this. Honestly, this might take it down.
I think it does.
Does Forrest? Oh, Forrest makes the call. I think your ace high is gonna be good a lot of the time on this board. I don't.
Well, now it is.
Now your ace high is gonna be pretty good on this board.
But that's actually a super nutty turn. Wow, and I would have liked to see a continuation bet, but you can see that Forrest's tight image probably makes him check here.
Now, do you bet small here, or do you check and just hope your opponent bets?
With my image, I would just check. I think that if I bet here and I get raised, I'm only getting raised by fours or bluffs, and if he were to get raised here, he'd be really sad
Yeah.
because he would have to fold. And you're not really getting, like, your image is like, I 100% have an ace kind of image.
Right. You're really not gonna get too paid off by eights in a lot of those type of spots.
Yeah. And the ace just, like, when you call that board, you almost always
have
say
ace.
I have an ace.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of ace high floats there.
Yeah.
Like he's probably not putting him on ace 5, but he's probably putting him on like ace 10 through ace king type hands,
Yeah.
which are all gonna improve obviously with the ace, even though he does turn a straight flush draw with the 3-2 of clubs.
Yeah, and that can be the problem, especially out of position calling there versus like raising, is that when you do end up hitting, that ace, you're kind of in a rough spot because your opponent is just going to check, and you can see his opponent turned a million outs and still checks because he can see his free card. He paid $25 to see 2 free cards.
So I think a lot of people, when they have the ace 5 there, if they think their ace 5 is good, they're going to just call like Forrest did. So what do you think is the advantage of raising versus just calling, even when you think that your hand is good?
Well, it comes back to when he raised pre-flop. If he feels like he can use his image to raise a hand like ace-5 offsuit, then he should also feel like I have an ace, and oftentimes I'm gonna have, aces. Big like just pairs in general. You're blocking a lot of hands that are gonna just be good. So
I mean, he has 9s plus in that spot for sure. He's got
Yeah.
all the overpairs.
and when a board like that comes, I'm fine with a check raise more than like I'm fine with the check, but I would like to see more of either like a check raise or even just like a check fold rather than a check call. It's usually going to be better than a lot of like floating and then hitting the ace and then not getting paid, or hitting the ace and getting reverse implied odds, which implied odds just means how much am I going to make on later streets if I call and hit my cards. Well, the reverse can happen where how much am I going to lose if I call and hit my cards? Because if my opponent does have a 4, which we can see Eric had a 3 deuce, so he can very easily have 3-4.
That can happen with like low flush type hands where you're gonna hit like they have bad like hands like 3 deuce suited as an example are
Yeah.
gonna have worse implied odds because when you hit your flush, sometimes a decent amount of the time you're gonna be up against a higher flush.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you're betting on, like, let's just say a 3-spade board and then you re-raise and then you get called, I mean,
Yeah, what are you feeling good about being against?
yeah.
Barely saw that ace five.
Like
An ace
we're
5 off.
Barely saw the ace.
there's the dealer.
What am I gonna do?
Yeah, and good on Zach, even though he made the re-raise with Queen 10, good on him to realize, like, that board didn't hit him, and he really didn't have much fold equity with the stack that his opponent had.
Mhm.
And Forrest is getting in the mix with these suited aces and these ace X hands, which are good when you have a tight image. And he's gonna get re-raised, min-raised actually. And you can see that this sizing is actually a direct call out. Wow, it gets called by 6-2 suited in the middle.
Ant-Man correctly assessing that both of his cards are live.
Not only live, but correctly assessing that his opponent is not going to 4-bet behind.
Would you like to have seen a 4-bet?
Well,
Wait, what's the same? Wait, he had ace-5 last time on 8-4-4.
yeah, it's weird. So newer school ideas do like calling or re-raising with the ace-5, but only reason I would like it is because his image is absolutely tight. He went 50 with the kings, which definitely has been seen by now. And like in this spot, I mean, Esteban with the king of diamonds, he can take with the sizing, he can definitely take a float line in which he can bluff big 40 off of a lot of hands, and it's gonna work.
The question is that Esteban has to, or not Esteban, excuse me, that Forrest has to be asking is how much 8x or 4x is Esteban really going to have
Yeah.
when he min-raises pre-flop? Not too much, probably, I would imagine.
No, not too much, but he's still gonna be afraid.
Of course.
In this spot, I mean, this is a really strong lead. This just looks like a bluff, but the thing is, it's like, okay, it might look like a bluff, but do I feel comfortable calling 80 and then maybe calling 200 on the river with ace high with no equity?
Right, because you kind of have to ask yourself, yeah, it's only 80 right now, but you can expect another bet on the river.
Yeah, and you could just be drawing dead against. Ooh, this is wow. This is a really good play.
I like this. And he
Let's go,
gives it up.
Forrest.
Okay.
Wow, great
Yeah,
recognition.
very
there.
rarely in poker do you get to see the same hand be played twice, but ace-5 on 8-4-4, we just got to see him play that twice with drastically different results each time,
Yeah.
and that's really cool.
No, I mean that was I kudos to him for spotting that his opponent was weak. Like I said, the $80 just looks like let me see a free river.
Right.
But the problem is, let's just say he does that and his opponent actually has it, which I definitely I will do that with hands that I want to block, but also hands that I want to get forced, for example, to do something like that. So it can be brutal in certain situations, but really good recognition. He knows that he might even be able to get his opponent to fold a jack.
Yeah, maybe.
Unlikely, but possibly.
Very possible, for sure. Depending on, like Jack 9 maybe, something like that. That's having kicker problems.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jack X hands, Ace Jack suited.
Yeah, and you can see Eric calling from early position to his raise is a testament to what these players are kind of thinking his range is now.
Right, because he's opened, like 3 or 4 of the last 10 hands, and people, think, okay, well, he's tight, but now he's starting to open up, and which is kind of true, but also, sometimes they just have good hands.
Yeah, and this is a rough flop for the original raiser.
This game is really just illustrating how often second pair is actually good.
Yeah, no, and it also illustrates how often even ace high is good.
Right, that's true.
And people forget that ace high is sometimes just super strong, and he definitely wants to continue here. How he takes it, we've seen that he's called in these spots, and then it goes check check on the turn, which is what I'm expecting, except for on this turn. This turn's definitely gonna go. I think he'll go like 80 from Eric's side, from what we've seen.
You think that'll put an end to the hand?
Yeah, I believe so. And
oh, a little bigger.
a little smaller.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was a.
No, I thought it was too, but this is a direct exploit and good recognition by Eric of where he is.
Yeah, he's going for value with his 6. I mean, he probably thinks that Forrest is going to be over calling on the flop with ace high hands, possibly.
Yeah.
The only problem with that sizing, I think, is that if Forrest had like a flush draw, you're giving him a really good price to see the river.
Yeah.
But you know, you kind of have to weigh that against the pros and cons.
And I think part of it is like, okay, I can do this 35 and then check river, and I'm never going to like lose more than the 35, you know?
Right, exactly.
Unless Forrest were to decide to lead here, which
Looks like he's gonna. Oh, Eric doesn't look happy, but he has not snap folded.
no, but I think he's gonna call this one here, to be honest.
Yeah.
We just saw I think Forrest just did this and
Yeah, I mean, you'll see sometimes people just play a queen more passively and then bet when the flush draw misses. I don't know that Forrest would do that, but you will see that from people sometimes.
I do like the sizing though. It looks very value-y.
Right.
The problem is like also, you know, Eric's used to these types of games. So he might say like, I'm going to flick in this 150 and really inflict some mental pain onto this guy who's just opened 3 hands in a row.
Right.
But we have seen Eric make this fold. We actually saw him yesterday or Tuesday.
Yeah, he does make the call with third pair. Good call. Yeah, I think there's just not probably enough that Forrest is opening that's going to be super strong on that board. Besides like ace queen, king queen, queen jack type hands.
Yeah.
Would you like that lead with those type of hands on the river?
Barely, but not. There's like you can definitely do it. Like I actually had a very similar spot against Bet on Drew yesterday, where we were about. It was about like 30 big blinds on the river, by the river.
In the pot, you mean?
In the pot, yeah. And I led on the river for like 1 big blind. He ended up calling me on a one-liner to the straight, and I was able to. I had ace queen, and he had a set.
It was like queen jack 9-8 or something, right?
Yeah.
9-8 deuce or something.
Queen 9-8 10 on the river, and I was able to see a lot cheaper of a river to see a showdown a lot cheaper by leading.
You think Drew's good enough to bet a set even with a 4-liner out there?
Yeah.
For value.
Yeah, so he might go a little bigger. So I've very likely saved myself in that spot. So sometimes you can do it. The problem with the block bet is a lot of the times you're giving your opponent like a good price, but also some people are more on the line of like, oh, he's just bluffing in this spot with the donk leads, which is actually why it's good to do for value.
Right.
Because you are going to get called more often when you donk lead.
It's really funny when you're playing like a multi-way pot with like a suited connector, you flop the straight, and then you just donk out into the field.
Yeah.
And people never think that you have a straight in that spot, because why would you just lead into everyone with a super strong hand?
And it's really hard sometimes to find a lot of the times you are going to find bluffs in that spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Even from a player. And we saw the 9s fold.
Wow. Was that Esteban again folding the 9s?
No, Ryan.
That was Ryan, okay.
Ryan limped for the 20 and then folded to the re-raise.
Wow. Yeah, because it was Joe that raised, who probably has a very tight image right now.
Yeah.
How many times is that going to happen tonight? Oh, you got to be kicking yourself there. That's brutal.
Yeah, and that's what good folds can cost sometimes.
I know. That's like the fourth or fifth time we've seen that tonight.
Yeah, and I would have liked to see a set mine knowing that there's probably someone else that's going to call. But, yeah, now he's really kicking himself.
Yeah.
But this turn is a strange one for Joe. I like anything. I like bet. I like check.
Yeah, I think it's okay to just check back here. Usually your 10s are probably going to be good here,
Yeah.
since especially now that it's a little bit less likely that your opponent has a queen. But like the problem is, especially against a player like Ant-Man, who's fully capable of check raise bluffing here.
Oh, and he just goes all in, and he gets snap called.
Whoa.
Ant-Man thinking that he has a single spade or ace-king type hand.
Okay, he's only all in for 300. I saw all in 1.5. I was like, what?
No.
And yeah, he's good. I saw the all in for 1.5K. I was like, oh my, Joe's going insane. But yeah, that makes more sense.
Nice hand by Joe there. Good recognition that his opponent would call him.
Yeah. Very, very good jam there, knowing where he's at.
And Ant-Man, looks like Ant-Man's out. GG's to him. He had a good Tuesday, so he can't be too sad. Obviously, we don't know what happened yesterday, but I've definitely heard of some swings one way or the other where someone, for example, was down 30K off stream, or I mean on stream, and then won it all back plus more off stream. I've also heard of people winning like 30, 40K on stream and then losing like 100K off stream. So
Yeah, it happens.
it happens.
We were talking about Alan Keating earlier. Probably one of the best examples of winning a lot or losing a lot off on stream, and then probably winning it all back off stream.
Yeah.
Didn't he lose like 1.6 million in that one stream?
Yeah, we got our holiday bounty, guys. It's actually happening right now. I don't believe the flight is going on anymore, but we are going to have flights all the way till Sunday. It's a 200K guaranteed bounty event. I love bounties myself. It's $300 buy-in with $50 bounties for the first day, $200 bounties for the second day, and you're going to get 40,000 chips to start with 30 and 40-minute levels, so tons of playability. Those flights are going all the way till Sunday. We're going to have one on Saturday night. It's going to be a turbo, and another one on Sunday morning. So if you are one of the people who needs to, have a later time, a later flight, you can definitely come in on those. We're going to live stream that final table. It's going to be a fun one.
As Ethan has said, he's going to be on the final table one way or another, either commentating or playing.
Luckily.
Or both at the same time. We
Yeah.
don't know yet.
Me and Rudy said that if we were on the table, we were going to do a solve for why, but only me and him, and everyone else will hear what we're saying.
Did you see Greg Goes All In did a video called Poker Vlogger Who Doesn't Understand that the voiceover is done in post?
Oh, yeah,
So
I
he's
did
just
see
like,
that.
I wake up in the hijack with 6'5" suited, and he's like saying it to everyone at the table. It's a pretty funny video. Anyway, Forrest with the King Jack offsuit. Under the gun.
Yeah, and Bet on Drew was actually on solve for why.
Oh, yeah, with the Poker Out Loud?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great series.
Yeah, I love that series. That's a huge series and Forrest has been kind of bricking.
Yeah.
It's a good series to watch for learning because if you guys don't know Solve for Why, Poker Out Loud, they talk about their plays and what they're doing in real time out loud.
And everyone's wearing noise canceling headsets so they can't hear what each other are saying. So it's a really interesting dynamic. Yeah, I don't know if we can see everyone's. It looked like Teddy also had a hand, but that might not be getting picked up. Yeah, Eric's sitting here with just a gut shot, backdoor diamonds, Forrest, 2 overs. I can't imagine Forrest is going to bet this board very often.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I feel like he might feel like his bet here might be a little more strong. Maybe he's trying to rep like jacks or kings.
Yeah, I mean he can still obviously have over pairs. That's the tricky part about betting those boards.
All right, it looks like we're getting up to speed now, y'all.
Yeah. Getting the fast forward. Oh, and we got a set for Joe.
And we have a flush draw for Teddy.
And some backdoor straight draws for Teddy as well.
Yeah, and
this is going to be fireworks.
And 40 drawing dead.
Wave really is. And now Teddy's drawing dead.
Yeah. And this is a great spot to just call his Joe.
Do you think so?
Yeah, and you could raise sometimes, but with the flush draw out there, you really want flushes to hit.
Yeah, you want them to make their hand.
Yeah, and I mean, you're even going to get someone like Forrest to call here because he might think that his king is live, but does make the fold. Good fold.
Yeah, good fold. When you get the bet and then the call in between, it's kind of hard to continue there. And probably we might see a bluff from Teddy here.
No, he just checks.
Oh, he checks, yeah.
Oh, and Joe goes all in. I think all in's a little too big there for the size of the pot, but
yeah, I think the pot was like 125. Teddy was saying on like 280.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd probably go a little smaller. The thing is, that when you have the pocket sixes there, there's still 3 sevens that are unaccounted for.
Yeah.
That your opponent could easily have, but that are not going to feel confident calling that big of a bet.
Yeah. And that's specifically
or some ace high flushes that hit a pair of aces.
Yeah. Yeah, and even an ace is not really going to call
right.
for all in there. But we'll call like maybe, 70 to 100.
Yeah.
And there's also other factors like if this is something that I try to also when I'm coaching, just like teaching people about, which is some people just don't want to lose their whole stack, you know? Like they rather be left with like 100, 120 so that they can continue to play rather than, you know, call in an all in. So they might make more folds for all ins because they're thinking, well, I could spin up this 150 or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen people play like that. I've been like that before.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. You know, when you're having a bad week and you're like, man, nothing's going right. Like I can spin up this 150 possibly.
Right.
So you can go like smaller and then get value off of hands that would still call essentially all ins.
Yeah, I don't think Jack 8 of diamonds was one of those hands, but oh, we got the 7 deuce.
Ooh.
I feel like we need like a 7 deuce alert. Like a
Bing, 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 bing.
yeah, something like that. You can just do it manually until we get with production about that.
Oh, and he's gonna go for a bigger size in. I love it. It's gonna work.
Hey, if you're gonna play the 7 deuce game, you gotta play it right. 160, I like it.
Yeah, no, I mean this is the best sizing we've seen in this spot, I think.
We've seen too many small 3-bets, I feel like, today. Like
Yeah.
a lot of just 3x, even with a call between. I really like the bigger sizing, even with good hands. Honestly, I like this sizing more
Yeah.
because it's gonna get you to heads up a lot more often. Esteban, been making good folds all day, continues to do so by folding the 4-3. Well, actually
Ooh.
not a good fold, but and he shows it.
I mean, he was behind.
He was
against
behind.
seven.
Yeah, that's not. He was more live than he thought.
Nice raise. I would've called
7
it if he
deuce
was
gets
behind,
shown.
though. On the stream, you're gonna see he folded ace.
Yeah, they are playing the 7 deuce game, guys. So you just made an extra $40. You made 73 plus the 40 for the 7 deuce game.
It's more money than I've ever made playing 7 deuce. I think probably.
Pretty sad if you were ahead of 7 deuce.
Which is 0 because you haven't played in a 7 deuce game, right?
I've never played the 7 deuce game. I have probably played 7 deuce as a joke before, but
Yeah,
or like in a bomb pot or something.
I think
It's
you know, it's a game that I think could be played a little more. I think it'd be fun to have like some tables where 7 deuce game is on, stuff like that.
I would like to see other hands be in the 7 deuce universe, like have it be a different hand every day, you know?
Yeah,
Like one day it's 7 deuce, one day it's 3 deuce, one day it's blah blah blah.
yeah,
With all the crappy hands because they don't have enough reason to be played,
Ooh,
and
and
it's more fun.
we see Lazar first hand at the table. Welcome to the table. Gets ace king suited, but unfortunately for him, even if he hits, he's not really gonna be getting paid.
Yeah, most likely not.
You didn't pay?
No, I did. Appreciate it.
That's a good flop for ace king. Not a good flop for ace king to get paid on.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just throws out the 10. 6 high folds.
yeah. And
Pretty standard stuff.
you hate to use your luck on the first hand for a $10 pot.
It was a $13 pot. Come on,
The nuts.
put some respect.
You're over Ryan, who's the guy in the black hoodie.
You don't want to do it?
No, because if he's busty, he won't even buy back in. I don't want to do it.
Are we talking about John over there?
Teddy Frosty.
John in the Raiders uniforms. Las Vegas Raiders.
Was it the Raiders or the Golden Knights?
Oh, is it the Golden Knights?
I think it's the Golden
It
Knights.
looks exactly like the Raiders.
Are they both Vegas
We can
teams?
play it except Teddy.
Oh, it is the Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Do that. Then he would have such an advantage.
I know the Raiders didn't used to be. I don't know.
I don't think it has enough matter.
I don't know sports ball. What?
Don't be the sports ball guy. Come on. Nobody likes that guy.
Oh, so Golden Knights are Vegas.
Yeah, I know the Golden Knights are Vegas.
So sport in Vegas. Let's go.
Yeah, hockey in Vegas, if you can believe it. I don't know why I said that like hockey. That was kind of weird. But
Hockey. Ooh, and big 40 getting in the mix with the fives. I wonder how Zach's gonna take this with the
not in the
tens.
mix actually.
Oh. Okay, yeah, you did unfolding.
Would you? I mean, the problem is that you still got Zach left to act as the original raiser, so it's kind of tough to just flat the fives there. But do you think you flat them and chance a raise?
I
Try to
think
set
I
them?
think it's definitely a well.
How many times today? That's the second set. Forrest has folded one street too early, unfortunately.
I think it's definitely. I was gonna say okay to cold call there, if we haven't seen as many 4-bets, which we haven't.
Yeah, I don't think there's been hardly any 4 betting at this table
Yeah.
pre-flop. So yeah, I would like to see that. Maybe he saved himself a lot of money though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh!
He saved himself all the monies.
Okay. You got lucky that time, Forrest.
That's pretty disgusting.
That would be a sick one.
And he's still kicking himself because you look at this board and you think,
Yeah.
you know, fives are so good.
He still might have been able to get away from it since it's a monotone board. Like, he might be able to put his opponent on some flushes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you still have to assume that you had the best hand.
I feel like we're going to see a 5 on the river, though.
Do you just call if you're Zach here?
Yeah, your hand is so strong. You really want to keep bluffs in. You can't really be afraid of, like, a king-queen with the king of clubs. Like,
Right.
if it gets there, you know, that's life. But
Yeah. And you can pot control by just calling on the turn and just calling on the river.
yeah. Like, if the board were to pair, well, this river is really bad for Lazar to keep bluffing on. Yeah, good check back.
Yeah, he's not going to have too many, neither player's really going to have too many sixes.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Forrest got up and was like, "Dang, I would have lost my stack there, 100%."
I wonder if you think Zach would have been able to, if Forrest like check raised or something, you think Zach would have gotten away from the pocket tens on the flop?
Forrest was in position.
Oh,
so,
was he in
Well,
position?
the problem is that Zach had the 10 of clubs.
That's true. He did have, yeah, there's no way he's getting away from it.
Yeah.
That would have been brutal deep.
But going back to the cold call, it is actually fine to cold call in a setting in which you don't think that your opponent's going to 4-bet. It's funny, me and Drew were actually talking about that, where he ended up cold calling in a spot against Ryan DePaulo on Solve for Why, and he was able to get Ryan DePaulo off of queens on a Jack-8 deuce board.
Wow.
Yeah.
Monotone or
Rainbow.
rainbow? Wow.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
And that's because no one was cold calling at the table, so all of them thought that cold calling was just like nutted, you know?
Right.
And that's also a problem when you have a bunch of good players all playing against each other. Is like then they end up actually playing worse because they're all just playing good.
Right. Yeah, we see the 3-bet from Eric with the ace queen on the button.
Oh wow, we're gonna see a 3-bet here or 4-bet.
Right when we say there hasn't been much 4-betting. Does he fold ace queen here?
You know,
I think he might. I don't know.
it's close in position. It's actually not too terrible to call in position, but I actually like a fold way better than a call, and I like a jam as much as I like a fold.
But when you jam with ace queen off here, you're more or less turning it into a bluff, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you are turning it into a bluff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like I said, I like a fold as much as I like a jam.
Yeah.
And a call is the worst option, but still not a terrible option, you know?
And of course, we can see the cards, so we know that a call would have worked out more than likely for him. But
Yeah, I still don't like calling there in that
no,
spot.
I don't either. And it's it's a lot easier to say, oh, he should just call there when you can see that he has the best hand.
Yeah, I mean,
But what are you really going to be up against that you're like happy to be up against? in that
yeah,
spot?
you're not even that happy against ace-4 suited. Ace-4 suited still has like 30% equity against your
Exactly.
hand.
Yeah. And you can also be up against all the pocket pairs from tens plus, really, maybe jacks plus.
And hope y'all are liking the stream. Again, like and subscribe. It really helps us out.
Hit like for that 4-bet with ace 4 suited. Come on. Where else are you going to see that?
When we got another ace-queen. Another ace-4 for Zach here, maybe?
I would
Teddy.
love to see the double 4-bet.
Oh, wow. We got some in the mix hands right now.
I like it. And honestly, like, Zach and even Teddy not doing too bad against ace queen here. And Teddy flops middle pair.
Oh, I thought he had 8-6 for a sec.
Oh, that would have been funny. That would have been an action flop. Yeah, just checks through. Deuce of clubs. I think if you're Ryan, you're probably just trying to get to showdown, right? With your
Yeah.
SI.
Definitely. And I like this bet by Teddy. I think once you've seen it check through, you really want to deny equity from hands like ace queen. You are going to get called by his king deuce, I was going to say.
Yeah, he turns bottom pair. Probably thinks his 2-pair outs are good, which they are currently.
Bink. I told
Hey,
you.
okay, now you're 1 for 3. You're 1 for 3 now. I'll give you that.
Oh,
and he
nice check
checks.
back. Yeah. That's a spot that I actually do like a lead because you are going to get a lot of checkbacks.
And I mean, a 9 and maybe even a 7 is going to have a really hard time letting go of their hand there.
Yeah, but honestly, the check, I also like the check raise, so.
Yeah.
Because 9-7's still going to bet, but when it checks on the flop the way it did and then the small bet on the turn, I like a lead for like 50 or 60.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see that as well.
Thanks for enjoying the stream, guys. We're really trying hard to make this thing, as professional and, as enjoyable as it can be. Me, Drew, and the team working really hard. Today I'm Ethan Bruin, but today I have a guest co-commentator, might be on the stream every now and then, Michael Largent. He's just been playing for a year, but I coached him up for the last year, and he's been so successful in the game and so good. I mean, literally his first tournament in Vegas, he won for like 5K.
The good old days.
Literally.
We don't talk about the rest of that Vegas trip, but it was a good start. It was a good start, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's super fun to be here. Happy to be here doing the commentary. A lot of fun.
Yeah, if you think this 1-2 game is playing like a 2-5, wait till you see the 2-5 game. Last 2-5 game, we had a 4 times Big Daddy Chaz went all in blind for 3K, and he straddled for like 500s on one of the hands, and 2 of them he actually straddled for 250. Wow, and this flop is great for Forrest. He's actually got his opponent drawing dead.
No, I guess he can hit. How does he have 5% equity? Am I stupid? Running 7s?
Running 4s or running 7s.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would have liked to see a just call. This is a 8s. You're not really getting called by much that you're raising against, but he's also denying equity from an ace high that might float. So it goes both ways. The only problem is if you do get called or raised even, it's kind of gross. But nice hand.
But he flopped a full house, Ethan. You have to raise or bet or whatever. Whatever
Yeah.
he did.
Cooler.
When 7-4 suited doesn't hit. Messed up.
Yeah, and we're at Rounders.
And good old San Antonio, Texas. Come on, man.
Yeah, both of us are San Antonio, Texas natives. A lot of the people here who play are natives. You see a lot of the same people. It's a super amazing vibe. A lot of really cool people. Everyone's just really good in Vegas, really good people. And I mean, not Vegas, in Texas. And
are you saying everyone in Vegas is not good people, Ethan?
I would say it's like a 50-50 in Vegas. Nah, I also
so your
love the
odds of
Vegas
meeting
people.
a good person are better than your odds of winning a roulette.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's pretty good odds, I guess.
Yeah, it's good. You go lose the 46% in the roulette, then you 50-50 find a good friend.
Dude, it looks like John Paul just calls with the ace-8 suited from the cutoff. Yeah, he's going to be playing in position. I like the flat. Spade in the window. Spade.
Ooh.
2 spades on the flop.
And we all know this is too many outs for John.
Yeah. Any 8 spade or ace will give him the best hand.
But I think he can raise here. The problem is he has such a nutted hand that he doesn't want to raise as much.
And Eric will have very strong hands on this board.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose equity if he gets re-raised.
And the question is Eric just going to turn his hand into a bluff here, keep betting, or is he just going to go ahead and take his showdown value and check?
You can go either way. I think I'm more on the line of checking, but looks like he's going to go for a bet.
Yeah, I don't hate it. But you're really only getting value from like the exact hand that John Paul has. You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem. Especially because even some of his combo draws just turned to 9.
Yeah.
Like 10-9, Jack-9 of spades type hands.
Or even Ace-9 of spades.
Ace-9 of spades, 9-8 of spades. Like all those hands are still in the mix, and now they're beating you, and they're definitely not folding. Not that he's going to fold his nut flush draw for 80, but...
Yeah, and I'm really curious how he ends up playing this. Oh.
Oh, looks like a raise. I think that's going to put an end to it most. Yeah.
Quick end to it.
Look at John. Dude, he's been playing really well tonight.
Yeah, no, he's he's
I've been super
definitely a really good player.
I've been super impressed.
Yeah, he's a veteran of poker, but he's also a veteran outside of poker. He served, so congrats to our servicemen.
Yeah,
We have
thank you
the
so much, John.
yeah we have the veterans game here and there. That was also a really fun one to watch.
Do you know when that runs?
We haven't done it, but we've done it before. We haven't done it recently.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to
But,
try
yeah.
to get that started back up. We got a lot of veterans here in San Antonio for sure.
Yeah.
They could definitely find people for that game here.
Oh yeah, the veterans game was really big, and we also have a lot of realtors, so we actually had a realtor game as well. And both of those games were off the chain.
I would imagine.
Today or yesterday they came out with like an
Yeah, I can imagine how many leveling wars goes on in the realtor game.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine that game would play pretty crazy.
Crazy enough to make you want to become a realtor.
no Jack 4.
Yeah, I sell houses. little Barbie doll houses, maybe. I don't know.
Feeling it.
It's like we got just the limp with the pocket sevens from Ryan.
I like this. This is actually something that you generally want to do with these middling pairs. When you're limping these middling pairs, you're gonna get a lot more. One, it's really hidden when you hit, but also on flops that don't hit your opponent, you're generally gonna be really good. For example, if it's a 6-high flop, he's gonna make Esteban and have a really tough position.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the other thing is that it's kind of a form of pot control, because if you raise it to 20 pre-flop and then somebody goes 85, you don't really want to call with the pocket sevens.
Yeah.
And you're not getting as good of a price to try to hit. And Zach has the nut flush draw.
Yeah, it's a good board to get both of his opponents to fold.
Yeah, he's gonna have so much ace queen, king queen, even a lot of king 10 suited type hands that are that's gonna get it done.
But the sevens were able to, kind of mitigate the bleeding by just calling.
Right, because I don't know if Zach would. He's already shown that he is willing to 4-bet ace-4 suited, so I would not be surprised to see a squeeze with the ace-5 suited if the pocket sevens had opened.
Yeah.
If Ryan had opened the pocket sevens. Pocket sevens. However you say that.
Pocket sevens.
Anyway, on to the next hand.
Hope everyone's having a nice night.
Oh, do the 7 deuce alert. Quick.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. Oh, and he's just seen that he has the nuts.
I'm going to make my $40 with this hand. Does get the dominating king deuce to fold. Always a win.
Yeah, and it looks like no one has anything.
Everyone's folding. I only get one call from the small blind. Adam with the 6-5.
And he's ahead.
Somehow a hand that 7 deuce is flipping against. That's pretty ideal.
Yeah, and Adam's another regular. I've seen him a lot in the games. Nice to welcome to the table.
It's kind of an ideal situation for a hand to call you because 6-high is just going to have to fold so many flops. That being one of them.
Yeah. But Adam is definitely someone who can get in the mix sometimes.
You could see like a check raise type line.
Not on this board, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were to happen to the sizing.
Yeah, I don't know that I would do it personally on this board, but I could see him just being like, you don't have a queen. I don't believe you. I'm going to raise and just try to take it down.
He also might not know that the 7 deuce game is in effect since he's just came.
Yeah, he did just join. Has anybody been caught with the 7 deuce yet?
No.
I think it's gotten through every time. That's like the 4th or 5th time we've seen it, and it's gotten through every time. Of course, his 7 high was actually good on that board, but.
And he had the back door.
And the pot was $72. I don't know if you saw that before the graphic disappeared.
Yeah. And both times he's made like $120 off the 7 deuce game.
It looked like they were only throwing 5. Is it 15? I thought it was 15 for the stand-up game.
It's yeah, they're just throwing 5, but it's $40 total.
Oh, you're saying overall? Yeah,
Yeah, overall.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, and you can see everyone got their drinks. We got a full bar and restaurant here at Rounders in San Antonio, Texas. Awesome place to play. Tons of games going on, and all the games are kind of like this where, it's a 1-2 game, but you can see that the smallest stack is like 700. So
Yeah, it plays pretty crazy sometimes.
and it is match the stack.
Yeah, people do enjoy getting into the mix. I mean, Jack 6 is the best hand on screen right now. Of course, they're just limping the 5, but
We're doing 7.
yeah, and Eric just
9 tables.
decides to check his 7-5 suited. 7-5 suited, a hand that's going to flop really well and really disguised a lot of the time.
Yeah,
So I don't mind just a check there.
yeah. And I'd like to see folds from hands like Jack 6. You're just never really happy. Well, never mind.
What were you saying?
That's happened like 3 times already.
What were you saying?
I was
Now-
saying you really want to limp with Jack 6 because you're just always gonna flop trips.
Yeah, it's an underrated aspect of the hand for sure. A lot of people don't give Jack 6 credit for always flopping trips.
Yeah, I mean, it's the problem. No matter how much your opponents put in, you should definitely call Jack 6. Oh, but
Turns the flush draw. I was gonna say 6 of spades, but that can't happen.
and here's the problem with the image is that you're only gonna make $11 or you're gonna lose. You know.
Yeah.
And all spade outs are pretty much all live for Ryan because Forrest has a 6.
So when it checks through on this board on the flop, would you ever bet bigger than that? Oh. Okay, don't play Jack 6. We take it back.
And he's gonna get, if he gets raised, it's a brutal spot for him, and he most likely will get raised. And he's gonna have to call for 75.
Yeah, I don't think you can put your opponent on spades. That's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal run out. He did probably lose the minimum by pot controlling on the flop and turn, whether that was intentional or not.
Yeah.
It definitely saved him some money because you really can't go anywhere there with trips on that board.
And that's the problem with playing those hands is like if the spade doesn't come, he makes $0.
Right, he would have made like $30 total off
Yeah.
of flopping trips.
And if the spade does come, which, as we saw, unlucky for him.
Yeah, of course, it's
Yeah.
very unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate that his opponent has the 6 high flush draw, so his boat outs don't even hit the spade.
Right. But yeah, I mean that can definitely happen. The other thing that can happen with those types of hands is if one of your opponents has like Jack 9 there,
Yeah.
and you both flop trips, you're never super happy.
Yeah, there's pretty much nothing that you're getting called by that you're like, yes, I'm so happy like that they called me. Maybe-
Except Jack 5.
yeah,
That's about it though.
which you're chopping with.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, we got some limps. Ryan with the 8-7 suited. Esteban. Excuse me. Esteban with the pocket deuces. Lazar's going to bump it up with the pocket 7s. And then we get Adam calling with the Jack 9 off. Oh, Joe not going to go for it with the 7 deuce.
Yeah, and everyone
Boo this man.
has
I'm
each
just
other's outs again because Joe folding the 7 deuce is gonna.
All the 7s are dead.
All
yeah.
the 7s are dead, and there's only 1, 2. So it's actually very likely for Forrest to flop a set here.
More likely than the pocket 7s that has no 7 to flop, for sure.
Yeah, but along with the fact that a lot of the cards we saw, when we saw no 5s, but we also saw a lot of cards that, you know, there's not as many cards in the deck, so
Right,
there's
right.
a lot higher of a chance of a 5 coming.
Or just Adam flopping top 2 pair.
Yep. And he's going to feel super comfortable.
That was one thing I was actually going to say before the flop came out, is that the hands that hit Adam or Ryan are going to give each other a lot of straight draws. And so now, you know, Ryan's got his gut shot. Adam has top 2 pair. We could see a big pot here, potentially.
Yeah.
Depending on what the turn card is.
And I think we're going to see a lot of floats by pocket pairs.
Oh, wow, let's go the 8-7. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Your outs might not be live even.
For sure, if you're up against, like, King, Queen.
Yeah, I
Or
think
even hearts.
if he had like 8-7 off with like the 8 of hearts, I think it ends up being a little more okay. But even then, it's like, eh.
Wow, Lazar floating with the pocket 7s, not in good shape.
Yeah, drawing dead.
I think that now that Queen 10 gets there, I think it's just he's gonna let go of the pocket 7s.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't even let him finish cutting out the bet.
Not only that, but you know, your opponent can have you dead in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and we haven't seen. I mean, I don't know if these two have played together before off stream, but they both were the most recent additions to this particular stream. So they might, they haven't been playing with each other for the past 3 hours. They don't necessarily know how the other's going to play.
Yeah, and Adam came in with the Gucci suit,
He's looking good.
looking pretty fresh. Taking down some pots. I think he's won the pots that he's been in mostly.
Yeah, I
And,
think so.
looking super fresh. And here's our position and stack depth.
Yeah, we got Eric up to 4,500 almost.
Yeah,
He's been doing pretty well. Estevan also doing really well. I think he was only in for like 1,000.
yeah, and Forrest, who doubled up on the first hand of the night, been sticking around, the same range, which is always good when you have it how it's been going for him.
Right. He would definitely not have been able to maintain that if he had got set over set in that one hand.
Yeah,
Where he chose to fold the pocket fives pre-flop.
yeah, and this is gonna get called, I think, 4 ways.
Yeah, what do you think about raise to 20 with 4 limpers?
Well, the limp is $2, so I'm fine with this sizing. It's a little brutal. It's like you go 25 or 30, and then suddenly you're getting ace deuce to fold, for example, which
Right.
you really want in the pot. No, I mean this is why ace king can be so annoying. Is he actually is way behind.
He's way behind queen 9. He's way behind pocket 3s.
Yeah. Wow.
And pocket 3s is way. I think that's the third or so set of pocket 3s.
Yeah.
Or it was only the second. One of them. That was another one where Forrest folded on the flop, and he would have hit the case 3 on the turn. But lots of pocket 3s.
And Bud Light, that's actually the second set that he's hit on a super like dry-ish board. Like there's the outs that people are gonna go for, you're gonna be so good against.
Yeah.
And we might see 40 come along with the backdoor and the gut shot.
Yeah, I would expect him to call here, but it's tough to say. Because he's calling, the pot's what, 200? And he's only got to call 55. And there's so many cards that are going to improve him on the turn.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to put Joe on a set here, for sure. So, he might have a lot of, like, 9-8, 10-8, 8-7 type hands.
Yeah.
Where
And
your ace is going to be good. Of course, not in this particular case.
yeah, and Ryan's gonna have a lot of kings and well, that would have been a brutal turn for him.
Oh, yeah.
And
4 of hearts on the river.
this turn is gonna go check very often. But
What are you doing here if you're Joe?
I like a bet, I like a check, but I was gonna say I think he's been more on the check side, and he wants that value off the river, which is a very exploitative play. This is very much like I can get my opponent to maybe call me if ace king high, because he is gonna have 7-6. He is gonna have 7-6 of hearts, for example. He is gonna have even like worse aces, like the ace deuce of hearts would want to bluff this spot.
Right, for sure.
And if he goes like 150, he's probably gonna get called by ace king high.
175. That's a pretty big bet.
Yeah, I was thinking within this range. And this is going to get called way more often than like 100, for example, because this looks really bluffy, and he would probably do this more often with 7-6. Whether or not him as a player would do this, which is where Bud Light, where Ryan needs to figure out. If he feels like Joe's doing this with hands like 7-6, then you can call more often with ace king here. But if you feel like your opponent just hasn't bluffed enough, then it's brutal.
Well, the question is, I mean, he's really probably not going 175 with an 8. Like if he bet small with an 8 to try to get called by ace king high, that would be one thing. But I don't think he would go this size to try to get called by ace high.
Yeah.
So the question is like, okay, he's basically repping either a really strong hand or nothing at this point, like a misdraw. And there's really not that many strong hands on this board. Like there's just pocket 3s, quads, and like pocket 8s maybe. Good
Yeah.
fold from Ryan though. He does find the fold.
Yeah, and that's a hard fold to find, particularly the sizing. I think it's very player dependent.
Yeah, for sure. I like how both of them played that hand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find out.
And if I were thinking about this from other players' perspectives, I would be on the side like, okay, if I were to watch that back, I'd say, Joe might check the nuts on the turn a lot. But the thing about checking the nuts on the turn in that spot is that later when Joe does have 7-6 there, he's getting a lot of a lot of free rivers because of not only position but also because of these hands where he's showing like, I'm gonna check the nuts, I'm not gonna bet here, and you can trap your opponents into thinking like, oh, he's never bluffing.
Yeah, for sure.
So if he can use that bluff, it goes really well. Thanks for the raid, Mike Cash. Or not Mike Cash, sorry, Dr. Dad Poker.
Thank you, Dr. Dad. We
Dr.
appreciate it.
Dad. Yeah, we're here at Rounders Card Club in San Antonio, Texas. If you can give us a like and subscribe, it really helps out.
Absolutely, it does. And we're waiting to see cards.
Have yourself a merry, I don't know what it says at the end there.
A merry little holiday bounty tournament, perhaps?
All right, switch over to the slide. I don't have power to switch over to the slide.
Come to the holiday bounty. You got like 9 day one flights running until Sunday. $50 bounty if you knock someone out. $200 bounty on day 2. Come to it.
And $0 bounties on me because no one can knock me out.
Didn't you stone bubble yesterday?
Nah.
Okay. We got 2 people with clubs. And then Esteban with the ace-4 suited. And it's a club flop.
Wow.
Open-ended royals. I mean, he's not going to hit the 9 for the straight flush, obviously, but he can still hit the ace.
And in this spot, you always, I feel like you think you have a lockdown on the hand already a lot of the time.
It's crazy that Esteban is still 33% here.
Yeah.
With just ace high.
And again, that shows you the power of ace high.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And this can be brutal for John Paul.
Oh, yeah, especially if the flush comes in. Because with the jack and the king of clubs both being on the board cuts down on so many potential flushes that your opponent can have.
Yeah, your opponent has to have a royal if it comes.
Exactly. I mean, you're going to have like the second or third nut flush potentially.
And that's actually a fun card too.
Yeah, he turns
open-ended.
Turns not a great straight draw, to be fair, but a straight draw nonetheless. Usually going to be pretty good when it hits. Of course, if a queen comes, any ace makes a straight, but yeah, Lazar's going to just keep on betting here. I would imagine that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
With a royal draw.
This is a great bet, and he might get check raised. This turn is really good for John Paul, not just because of the straight, but it does lend itself to be raised by like a hand like King Jack and King 10. And that face he just made, if Lazar is paying attention, when someone makes that face, it's kind of like really cuts down on their raise abilities.
Yeah, he's definitely in the blender for sure. Looks like he wants to let it go. I don't know if he's going to get away from it this early, though. He might have to wait till the river.
I don't know if I could fold this spot.
Yeah, you went about half pot, it looks like. So, I mean, you don't need to be good too often to call. Of course, he's in horrible shape here, but, he might think his straight outs are live, and he probably thinks his flush outs are live a lot of the time.
Wow, what a fold.
And he makes the laydown again. John Paul.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that I'm a fan of the laydown, but in this spot, obviously, he dodged a huge bullet.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of river cards that were not going to be good for him. And even if he makes, if he hits a 7, that's probably an offsuit 7 is probably the best card that he can hit.
Yeah.
But even if he hits the queen, it's a 4-liner to an ace. Like,
yeah,
it's going to be a lot of ace high flush draws you're up against, and he's just not going to feel good about it. And Lazar might feel inclined to bluff on those types of runouts potentially.
Definitely.
But he does make the laydown. Probably saved himself $200 there. Possibly a lot more.
I mean, if the club hits, it's brutal.
Definitely.
Your opponent can't really have many flush draws there that are going to play that way.
Well, and they might even, you have to also wonder if they're going to bet 7-6 of clubs for value. You know, which they definitely will, I think, a lot of the time. Pretty much any flush, I think you're probably going to bet for value on that river. Looks like Adam's bumping it up to 10 with the queen 8 suited.
Yeah, we got a reasonable raise in Texas.
And immediately punish.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Esteban's got kings.
Yeah, and in position, he's definitely going to call it the queen 8. But this does lend itself back to that same thing we were seeing with the jack 6 from Forrest, where he's up against a hand that, unless his opponent flops really well, it's kind of hard to get paid off.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier to get paid off by this hand maybe, since like he's probably going to feel inclined to continue on queen high boards a lot of the time, and probably also flush draw boards. Like that
Ooh.
being a prime example of a board.
That's a gross flop for Adam for sure.
Undoubtedly. Still a lot of cards that can improve him, though, on the
Yeah.
turn. He's still 35%, even against pocket kings here.
Yeah, we see a down bet. I like the down bet. A lot of the times when you're heads up, you generally want to. I'd like a little more of a big sizing out of position. Generally, you want to raise a little bigger. Wow. That is gross.
That'll do it.
But it is a card that does hit Adam a lot, in that he could still have Jack 10 of clubs, Jack 10 of hearts, you know, some 8-9s that just turn 2 pair. Obviously, we see he has Queen 8, which is somewhat in the range, but
What do you think about 55? I don't know. I feel like I would like a little bigger, but what do you think?
yeah, I would like a little bigger, but you know, he might not think that he's target. Wow.
Never mind. He was pot controlling. I take it all back.
That is unfortunate.
But
and-
Esteban doesn't love that card either.
No, he doesn't. But I don't know what sizing Adam can use. That's and this is gonna get snap called.
Yeah. What is that? 80?
Yeah, 80.
He doesn't look happy. He's been making good laydowns all day. Esteban has. I think you just gotta flick it in here though.
Yeah, this is too small to not flick it in. And
Well, what do you think about the bet by Adam in position? Do you ever just check that back when you get counterfeit like that?
Yeah, I would rather have check back than 80.
Mm.
I don't know. You don't really target anything with 80 except for like Ace King High.
Which
But
you're already beating.
yeah, if I was gonna bet with
call.
this, I would go more like to maybe an overbet or like close to pot, and that would be to target queens that might not want to call.
So trying to basically turn your hand into a bluff at that point. is what you're
Yeah, because you're blocking boats, and because you can have 8-9, and you can have Queen 9.
And you can have 10 jack. You can have a lot of really good hands there.
Yeah, so when you're blocking that style of hand, you definitely don't want to go for the 80 because you're generally going to value on yourself, or just get a worse hand to fold. Whereas if you have like, you know, someone who might fold Queen Jack, Queen 10 there, which is very possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, that board is going to hit Adam super hard. And now he's got aces.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll make up a little bit from last hand.
And honestly, he didn't really lose that much because of the. He could have lost a lot more. He could have lost a lot less and a lot more.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if he'd gone the bigger sizing that we were talking about on the turn, that's obviously just a soul-crushing river.
Yeah, and on the river, he actually when the board pairs, I would have liked to seen a check or a bigger sizing. Obviously, he still would have got called with the bigger sizing.
I don't know, man. Esteban probably would have called, but he's been making some good folds today.
Yeah, he looked really like not into it.
Yeah, even for the 80, he didn't look happy, which may be because the 80 looks, and it's $8 for his aces.
Yeah, and it goes back to the same thing that
That's
happened
rough.
earlier with Forrest when Forrest raised 50 with the Kings.
How big did he raise there? I didn't see.
55.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How much do I
Yeah.
have to show? I mean, how much
Yeah, aces don't need as much protection as other hands. You're not really afraid of getting, you know, into a pot with 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, I mean, even like aces needing protection, like the amount of protection that kings need versus the amount of protection that aces need, even though they're the best 2 hands, it's like a huge difference
Yeah.
in how much less protection aces need, since there's no overcards, obviously.
Yeah, I had 8.
Like, even a terrible hand like ace-3 offsuit is still like 30-ish% against pocket kings,
Yeah.
whereas like nothing is even close to that against pocket aces. There's just no hands that are any better than like 20% against aces.
Yep, best hand is 6-5, and I believe that 6-5 has 21% against aces, heads up.
Yeah, something like that. That sounds right. It's got a few limps. Nothing too crazy happening.
Table number. What is it showing this? It's just
Ryan
called
deciding to
straight.
limp again with the
So
pocket
like when you
sevens.
look at the wait list, yeah.
Zach has my favorite hand, 5-3.
It's called knit.
You know how like
Yeah,
it shows,
but
like,
it,
how
it
far
hasn't
the
worked for you the
like,
last few
surface,
times, has it?
like if I don't know about that.
The only
Green,
recent
I
time
just
it didn't
know that,
work
like,
was in one of the melee tourney that we run over here.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah,
knockout
Yeah. That I
sit and
got.
go format, but I had like basically lost my entire stack. Again, kings versus ace 7 offsuit, and he hit quads. So, you know, that is 5-3. No, he's got pocket sevens. Okay, I was
Yeah.
going to say, is 5-3 really the best hand on this board?
5-3 kind of is,
Yeah.
because sevens doesn't feel comfortable, but I feel like you feel more comfortable with 5-3 than sevens here.
Absolutely, for sure.
Does make the fold, and this is gonna get through with the king deuce.
Yeah.
Limping under the gun of king deuce gonna work out.
Is that in any of the poker books?
Yeah, I think in yours for sure.
All right, you got me.
He's getting everybody against me.
Not how I play at all, by the way.
Nice takedown, Adam, though. It's good recognition that like he had the king of clubs and that he could just bet there.
Yeah. Yeah, pocket threes, and you know it's one of those hands where it's like, yes, you've got bottom pair with the 5-3, but you're only in for, I think he limped like the extra $1.
Yeah.
You're basically only in for $1. Do you really want to play a $100 pot with bottom pair?
Yeah, no. Especially on a flush draw board where you could just be drawing dead too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to see more limps by Forrest with hands like this. I think we've seen he's really taken the raise line, which, you know, if he's thinking, which people obviously 6-5 suited doing this, if he's thinking people are taking more lines to, you know, counteract his play, which is a lot tighter, then you want to start, you know, limping some hands, like even limping kings, for example, because then you kind of defend a limping range where people are like, okay, well, I guess he might not have what he's saying he has, and then you can start limping even stronger hands. Whereas in this case, you know, an ace flops and they kind of know where he is.
Right, and with the cold call by Esteban, do you think we ever see a 4-bet from Forrest here with the ace jack? I mean, John Paul, who has a tighter image, is the one who 3-bet him, so he might not feel great about the ace jack. But what do you think?
Yeah, I love ace jack is definitely one of those hands that you rather take as a bluff, especially with your image, than a call, because there just really isn't as many good flops for ace jack, especially out of position, as there are for hands like ace queen. Ace jack is, you know, huge gapper, as well as when you hit ace high boards, you're never too comfortable.
See, pair of sixes is going to be the best hand. I think John Paul's going to keep, he's going to turn his bottom pair into a bluff here, most likely, I would imagine.
Yeah, and generally the problem with calling with hands like ace jack is like when this flop comes, this could have not gone to the flop, but now you're actually going to end up paying, you know, you're probably going to float on this sizing, and you're probably going to end up paying more than if you had re-raised pre-flop.
No, he changed his name.
Right, and that's the thing that we've talked about, you and me have talked about before, is you know, when you're scared to 3-bet to like 125 pre-flop or whatever, but then you call 3 streets of like, in this case 55 and then maybe 75 on the turn, and that's already more than you would have 4-bet pre-flop.
Yeah.
And there's just, you know, you feel like you're not putting in as much money, but you actually end up putting in more by the river.
Yeah, and
with
you're
a worse
bleeding.
spot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we see him call here, he would be in for 95.
I can't call. I'm in
Exactly. And then if he calls another street, he's for sure above what he would have 4-bet to pre-flop. And the other thing is that, like, you let Esteban in, and obviously Esteban missed this board pretty hard, but you really are not happy when a hand like pocket fours, good fold,
Yeah,
does find the fold. You're really not happy when a hand like pocket fours is getting in for free. Or not for free, but, you know, for relatively cheap.
yeah,
Because they're always going to have a ton of equity, and they're always going to be disguised when they hit.
for sure.
No, I forgot I had a name tag on. I really forgot.
But it does take it down with a pair of sixes there. Had the best hand, but
Yeah, 6-5 is one of those hands that's amazing as a 4-bet, 3-bet bluff. A lot of the times that it hits, it's gonna not intersect with a lot of opponents' ranges. So
What do you mean when you say that?
just basically when Forrest, especially when you know that he's a tighter player, when he's raising under the gun, he's gonna have a lot stronger hands in that spot, and so because he's gonna have a lot more strong hands, you know, like he kind of has a more straightforward image. So your 6-5 doesn't really connect. Like if you hit your, like say, 2 pair, it's not going to connect with what Forrest is, going to generally have, like ace jack, ace king, ace queen. That isn't re-raising. And I think Forrest is, then re-raising only like queens, jacks, kings pre-flop. So you kind of know where you are at that point. You kind of know like, okay, my opponent's not just going to call with like tens and jacks.
Right.
Because he's been tight up to this point. And it's a problem with being too tight.
I just want to do it because I've never.
It looks like 5 ways to the flop.
And it's even crazier when you think about the fact that John Paul has been the tightest player at the table, aside from Forrest, and he's 3-betting you.
Right.
With 6-5 suited.
This is a pretty action flop. 2-pair for Adam, open-ended for John Paul with a backdoor flush draw, and a gut shot for Zach.
Yeah, and I'm okay with this lead from Adam. It's not a bad lead. I think that, when you're 4 away, you really don't want people seeing free turns.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's kind of dangerous because you could just be getting floated by literally every hand in the deck. Wow, right on the turn.
Like Jack 8?
Yeah, like Jack 8, and now he's continuing to bet.
Would you continue to bet in this spot with 7-5?
Man, it's so tough to say. Like, now you're just losing to, like, 30 hands.
Yeah.
And
But at the same time, 2 flush draws, you get floated by a backdoor flush draw. He turns it. Of course, a lot of those are going to contain like an 8.
yeah, that's a
which is
problem.
the problem.
The problem is that your opponent called in middle position with, like, 2 more people to act. On this type of board, he's generally going to have a hand like even 8-7, for example, or even like, Jack 8. Or,
Big raise, by the way, from John Paul.
yeah, and I think this is fine. He obviously doesn't know what his opponent has, but if he feels like his opponent is going to continue with, flush draws that contain a 9, for example, like 9-10 of spades,
You got an 8?
which he's denying equity from. But also, like,
Looks like Adam asked him if he has an 8.
yeah,
Kind of stared him down a little bit.
I wonder if John said go fish.
I doubt it.
Got it? Go fish.
If you were at the table, you would have said that.
Yeah, and you can also get hands like 6-5. Oh, he just turns over the 8. John said, not today.
Adam, you still got 4 outs. Call.
That worked out fucking great, dude.
No, I had 2. I had fucking.
If he's not gonna call you anyway, then like maybe he might.
I had
be
top.
able to pick
I
one, right?
had top 2 pairs.
The other one's the ace. The other one's the ace of hearts.
Yeah. Adam, maybe from the generosity of John Paul, gets away from that one.
I had top 2.
Yeah.
One could say that.
Ooh, and those V-pips have changed big time.
I wouldn't have folded. I would have folded.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty shitty.
everybody pretty much had a higher VPIP
Especially when
earlier
that
on.
card comes
Or
Yeah.
actually, some of the lower down, like
Especially how
Forrest
much you
VPIP
raise.
has actually gone up quite a bit, big 40.
Yeah.
And but some of the people that were near the higher
scared of
portion,
spade, yeah.
their VPIPs have gone down a bit.
Yeah, you're scared.
Perhaps he flopped a set, I don't know.
Yeah, you get scared of the things that
guess
can
so.
happen. Yeah, of course.
Is he getting in there with the 7-3?
Wow.
Easy money.
John.
I can't believe it's the second time this stream I've had to ask if the 7-3 game is also on.
Welcome to Texas, y'all. The tightest player at the table. Well, second tightest player at the table is opening 7-3 suited. So
I gotta give you some more.
I like it.
No, I'm saying it's like an
This is it's really a study in how much you can get away with based on your image,
yeah.
and how long will your image actually last when you're making plays like this. And it looks like he's getting some calls. Maybe people are sick of his nonsense. Oh no, is Eric gonna raise the Jack 4 in honor of Robbie?
The Robbie.
No, he doesn't. He just calls.
He's getting in there though.
No, if he thinks the jack of spades, it's like I call.
I do. And he checks dark. I respect him getting in there with the Jack 4.
Jack 4 and checking dark.
Yeah. And
Wow.
nobody has an 8.
Well, Adam has an 8 though.
Yeah, he does. He'll probably expect. I mean, he'll probably expect that to be good. But if somebody keeps on like blasting by the river, is he really gonna feel good about his 8?
Yeah, and probably not. But the thing is that he did just play against John in a similar spot, but John did end up showing him that he had a straight before he decided what to do. So
Yeah. Yeah, he would. If anyone at this board. And
oh wow,
was he raising?
that's what it looks like.
Interesting. Yeah, and John was the original raiser as well. So, if anyone is likely to have an ace, it's probably him.
Oh wow, and he folds the 8 straight up.
And he shows the Jack 4.
Yeah,
Jack 4, actually good.
And John is definitely not wanting to show the 7-3. Oh, I think he did end up showing it though.
I know what you
Didn't even get the bounty, the 7 deuce bounty. Just did it to be a gangster.
Oh, so good.
He beat me straight up.
That should have been the final hand in rounders. There's a big thing of you got to come down to rounders because there's a big thing of Teddy KGB on the wall.
Yeah, there is.
Unless anyone from Miramax asks, then it's someone else.
Yeah, the last hand should have been KGB goes all in with 7-3 suited, hits a straight flush.
Yeah, after the stream, I'm down to stand up.
Michael, or yeah, is it
Mike?
Mike, yeah, Mike has a bigger straight flush somehow, even though they're blocking the straight flush.
I was gonna say, what game? Are we playing? How many cards are on the board here?
Well, and he just showed the 7-3 offs. I mean, the 7-3 suited. So.
It was suited. It was suited.
was
Come
suited.
on, put some respect.
Yeah, no one else had spades when he did it, so you know.
You did? Saw this card, what is it?
No, I saw the other card.
That's how you know he's a veteran off and on the poker field. No fear.
And now he has an actual good hand. King Jack suited.
No, I said it was an 8.
Oh, I guess it wasn't.
And the set miner, Joe, he's gotten many sets tonight.
Yeah, you should go back to pocket threes. I don't think anyone's hit a set of sevens tonight, even though we've had them dealt out many, many times.
1,000 to use.
Yeah, but 7's always coming. I do think he's gonna hit a 7 here. I think it's just poetic.
Isn't that what
in a sense.
Isn't that what Kevin Martin always says?
It's actually they do it at the WSOP, and
Oh, really?
it's a meme. The 7's always coming because there was like one hand where a guy flopped like
7-7-5.
top boat against pocket 7s, and the 7s had nothing, and it came runner 7-7
Oh, quads.
quads.
That's
Yeah,
sick. And pocket sevens looking pretty good on this board.
yeah. And Forrest folded the ace 5.
Adam leading out with not much.
Yeah,
but he
he
does
gets it
take it
through.
down. He gets it through. Yeah, he probably just figures that nobody's gonna have too much on that board, unless they have an ace, because there's not gonna be too much 4x or 3x probably.
Yeah, and you see Adam, a really good tipper, good guy. He just tipped $10 for that, like, $33 pot. So
He's the guy you want at your table if you're dealing, for sure.
yeah, and it's always good. I mean, people like that, they drive the poker economy in a good way. They really help. Dealers definitely underappreciate it. It's a super hard job.
Yeah, and getting yelled at for not putting out the right card when you have no control over it. Definitely, I'm sure that gets old after a while.
Double board PLO, Papa?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
But none of the guys in this game do that.
Yeah.
It seems very friendly.
As many
From,
cards are
Wolves,
deck
and-
max. I think max is 6. As many as it takes for me to win.
No, I'm talking about
Bring in
your
a
deck.
second deck.
Wow.
Yeah, Adam's going to make a big raise. Looks like 75, 65. My bad.
An instant too. It went 30 and then snap 65, which is almost a min raise.
What are you thinking when you get snap min raised pre-flop? Are you thinking that's
Player
gonna be
to player.
super- Yeah, for sure.
When anyone does anything in a snap bet fashion, I tend to think weaker than stronger. I tend to think that, it's like I want to look strong. And I think a lot of people do that when they want to look strong is actually just like do something fast. Like yesterday I had a spot where someone just called in the big blind, and then it flopped like king 10-4, all spades, and they instantly, wow, we have a set for Lazar. Oh, he's gonna lead out.
I like that really tiny lead.
Yeah, if you're gonna lead, I like the tiny lead for sure.
A lot of people are scared to lead in spots like that, but the problem is that so much of what Adam has is just gonna get checked
Yeah.
because he's gonna have like decent showdown value. Wow, he's turning it into a bluff. That looks like 60.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna say that Lazar is gonna check this turn almost all the time, and it's gonna be great because you're gonna get your opponent to bluff with hands like Ace Jack.
Right. Yeah, I think that leading when you flop a really strong hand is a bit underrated for sure, because a lot of people tend to just lead when they have a weak hand. You know.
Yeah, and it does go check check, but he made a lot for the pocket fives. He made 168 on against Ace High.
Against Ace High, yeah. Tough to make more than that. You ever betting like 20 on that river? Just try to get it called by Ace High.
You know, it's not bad if you want to get re-raised. You can incentivize that re-raise through that sort of bet.
Definitely.
A lot of donk leads will incentivize people to re-raise in spots where they really shouldn't. It's actually a really new school idea, and it looks like we might be having our last hand of the night, which is the bomb pot. So,
and is this going to be a Hold'em bomb pot?
It's a PLO bomb pot.
This one is PLO. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
PLO double board bomb pot, I assume.
Yes. And just again, guys, you know, we're doing this every Tuesday and Thursday right now. We're gonna start adding in Sundays as well. But we have some really fun games. This is our 1-2 game, which has been playing crazy, but try to imagine our 2-5 game. We got straddles to 250, straddles to 500, blind jams, all the mix. Gets really fun. Just like and subscribe. You know, watch. We have a lot of clips on YouTube that you can go back and watch through. Also, just in general, again, we're going to be streaming a lot of fun stuff. We have a 200K tourney stream coming up soon, so a lot of fun stuff coming out.
Yeah, that's going to be the final table for the holiday bounty, right?
Yeah.
And again, holiday bounty, we got flights running until Sunday, I believe.
Yeah.
And so try to make it down before then. You can go on Poker Atlas or on the Rounders website to look at when those flights are running. I think there's one pretty much every day until Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So you can definitely find one. There's one on Saturday night, I believe, the Turbo.
Yeah, and one on Sunday morning as well.
Yeah, so you have a lot of opportunity to still get into that. I'm sure you won't stone bubble like Ethan. You'll be more successful.
Yeah, and again, I'm Ethan Brune, and this is Michael Argent. He's my guest host tonight. He's a poker player right now. He's been a pro since June, and yeah, he's been crushing it, doing really well in the game.
Oh, shucks. Yeah, I mean, I've only been playing poker for like a year and a half, but Ethan turned me onto the game, and I've just really been loving it so far. Looks like, yeah, they're going straight to the flop now. Looks like.
There's your kings. That's
all clubs on one.
I'm not gonna look.
Oh, are they just doing a single board?
It should be two.
Yeah, it seems like there might be something going on at the table. We'll probably get a second board here in a second.
Yeah, and I hope everyone's liked the stream so far. It's been I wasn't expecting the 1-2 game to get this crazy, but it's been 5-way pots pretty consistently.
Can I just say, every time I've heard, like, oh, I didn't expect X game to get so crazy. Times we went and played on a live stream in Austin, and Ethan was like, oh, yeah, it's going to be super chill. Like, probably $500 to $1,000 buy-in will be the average. You can probably just buy in for $500. And, like, first hand, two people are all in. Everybody immediately pulls out their wallet to add on. And like,
Before the hands are even over.
Before the hand's over, I'm like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, welcome to Texas. No. To be fair, Anderson did tell me that it was all going to be like just all good friends, you know, and like a chill game. So.
And then they couldn't make it or something, so the people who filled in made it crazy.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, but yeah, every time I hear a Texas game's not going to be crazy, I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and just for those who haven't played in Texas, we did have a $18,000 pot in 1-2 game here at Rounders, so it gets pretty feisty, you know.
Can't say I'm shocked.
Yeah,
Cannot say that shocks me.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love winning a 9,000 big blind pot.
Well, oh yeah, 9,000 big blind pot. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. I don't
No.
think.
And the 1-2-5 game, you'd expect, oh, it's not that much different, but the 1-2-5 game, I mean, you get stacks of 10, 20, 30K in there.
Yeah.
We had Rampage come out one time, and I believe he bought into the 5-10 game for 90K. Like, literally just bought in for 90K. So yeah, our games get crazy. We get a lot of people from out of town playing. You know, a lot of people love the Texas rooms, and it's so great out here in Rounders.
Yeah,
So if
always a table running, by the way, guys. I mean,
24/7.
24/7, and not like fake 24/7. Like, there will be a game running no matter what time you come. There will be at least one cash game running.
Yeah, we have a full bar, full restaurant, and you actually get points when you play here. Every hour you play here, you get $1 back for food, for the barbershop, which we have a barbershop, for the golf simulator. So it's really, you know, overall, you can just kind of live here sometimes. Like, I mean, me and Bet on Drew live literally 3 minutes away, and we're here very often, trying to make the stream really great, but also, you know, getting our grind on in the cash games out there, as well as attorneys.
Tournaments running pretty much every day too, right?
Yeah, we have some big ones. For a while, we actually had the biggest Monday tournament. I think we might still, but we have a 10K, $150 buy-in every Monday. Sometimes it's a monster version, and it gets to 30K.
Looks like we got Adam all in on the bomb pot.
Yeah, and it looks like we're gonna have a heads up. So we are seeing Jack High Flush.
Yeah, so second nut flush on one board, and again, you know, it's PLO, so 2 of your cards have to play.
Ooh.
And then
It's looking more like a
diamond
shot.
draw on the other board.
He actually has a 6 of clubs draw.
Oh, that goes on the top, yeah. And yeah, diamonds get there, so looks like it's going to be a chop, Jack High Flush for each player on each board. So anticlimactic chop to end the day, but you're happy if you're one of those players.
Imagine if the 6 of clubs came here.
Looks like it was Adam and maybe Ryan. It's tough to tell.
Yeah, and I think it was a $10 PLO bomb pot, so they're still going to make a pretty decent amount to end the night. It's always good to end the night with a win. Although, definitely, they're still playing out there. There's absolutely no chance that maybe like 2 or 3 of these people have cashed out and left. And here's our winnings for the night. So we have a lot of stuff going on, though. This week, full week till Sunday, again, we're going to have that holiday bounty. It's a $200K guaranteed. $300 buy-in, $50 bounties for the first day, $200 bounties for the second day. 40K chips, tons of playability with the 30 and 40-minute levels. 40-minute levels start on day 2. And those flights are going all the way till Sunday. Got one Saturday night, it's going to be a turbo, and one on Sunday morning, which is also going to be a turbo. So you're going to get a lot of chances to come in, and we're going to live stream that final table. Last 2 times, first time I live streamed the table with Bet on Drew, and the second time with Jesse Sylvia. So we'll see who the guest commentator will be for that one. But come hear us talk about, you know, your plays and stuff. And here's the winnings and losings for tonight. Esteban having a really nice night, played super well, as well as Joe hitting those sets. And John Paul played super well. John Paul would be down a ton if he was someone else. So congrats to him. Congrats to everyone who's played. And for the people in the lower, you know, next time you can definitely make it back. I feel like a lot of the people who did lose today got really unlucky. So
yeah, there were some unfortunate hands in there, some coolers for sure.
yeah, we had tons of action, tons of amazing spots. It's a really fun one. If you didn't catch it, just go back and watch it. There was some really fun hands. And also, if you don't want to go through the full stream, we post highlights on our YouTube every week to all the coolest hand histories. So give us a like and subscribe. You're going to watch those. We have some really cool hands. For example, Jesse Sylvia flopping or turning quads in the second hand of the night for one of our big games, as well as Poker Guru playing a 22K pot. So we have some insane action going on. You see Chaz, if you do want to look back on one of the other nights, Chaz jamming in the dark 4 times for 3K. So always some fun action. Fun to see the Texas action here in San Antonio. I'm Ethan Bruin, and I'm here with Michael Largent, my guest host. Hope you all liked tonight. Really tried to make a really good game for you. So
dealer chain.
Again, just hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps for us.
Yeah, and the 125.
It was great to be here, guys. Thank you.
So we're making this 125.
I'm so in love with you. You got me down, my